now, rocking with that dude Pascal. We be going wild, Haitian in the building, so original. Got the haters catching feelings. Get your hands up to the ceiling and keep them held high. Cause St. Louis isn't ready. Forget about it, goodbye. Hold up, we just saying hi. Five somebody, rise up. Weekdays, catch us live. Somebody, let's go.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good afternoon and good evening. Welcome to the Pascal Show. Hope you guys are doing well out there. Hope this show finds you in great spirits because another day above the dirt is always a blessing. Let's not forget that. Oh, my word. Let me just say this. There is a lot of stuff going on inside and outside of this courtroom right now as we speak. It has been absolutely insane. We got a lot to talk about, a lot to discuss, so we got to get straight into it. Yes, buenos dias, everybody, cabrones. Buenos dias, cabrones. Hola. See? Hola. See? I hope you guys all doing well out there. Do me a favor before we get into everything, because there's a lot to go through. There's a lot that we missed yesterday. There's a lot that's going on right now. So we got a lot to talk about. Okay? So please do me a favor. Hit that like button down below. Crush it, do what it do. Hit that reaction button if you're watching on these other platforms. If you are watching on the other platforms like Facebook, X/Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Rumble, Twitch, Kick. I'm on all of them, so make sure you hit that follow button. Follow, please, and thank you. Follow Dagnabbit on those platforms. Don't forget, I have my TikTok. I have a TikTok now. Just so you know, it's called The New Pascal Show. Go back to that. Go check it out. Subscribe over there as well. That would be greatly appreciated, okay? Or follow that page. That'll be amazing. All right. It's slowly but surely starting to climb the charts, you know what I mean? Slowly, very slowly, but it's getting there. Okay, it's moving. There's movement, but make sure you are following the new Pascal Show on TikTok. Okay, subscribe right here on my YouTube channel, the main channel. Go to my second channel, the Pascal Show Clips. Subscribe over there as well. Subscribe. Hit that notification bell on both platforms. Set it to all so you know whenever I go live, whenever I upload, because honestly, it is random. So whenever I can get in here, it's a busy time right now. It'll all make sense soon enough. I will explain it all soon enough. But right now, a little chaotic. Get in here when I can, okay? So make sure you do that, okay? Hit that notification bell, set it to all. Hit that join button down below, become a member. Check out that Patreon. It's in the ticker down below right here. And of course, check out PascalMerch.com. PascalMerch.com. Go check it out. We got some really great stuff over there. PascalMerch.com. Okie dokie. We got some things we have got to get into. It's been absolutely insane right now. There is some breaking news about another case that's going on. I know some of you guys know about this other case, so I want to share this with y'all really quick. So I don't know if you know Brendan Banfield. Okay, no relation to Ashley Banfield, all right? But this piece of trash has been sentenced to life in prison for taking the life of his wife and with a stranger, okay? Because of this affair that he was trying to cover up with his au pair. No, this is not the storyline or the plot to some sort of Lifetime movie, okay? This is really the real deal, or a Tubi movie, let's be real, or a Tyler Perry movie, to be real. This is real. Okay, so he's been sentenced to life in prison for taking the life of his wife and a stranger that they were using. They were trying to make it seem like an intruder was coming in, and they unalived them both, trying to give off the vibe that there was some sort of intruder coming into the house. Now, don't worry, we're going straight into the Karmelo Anthony stuff, but this just broke. Literally just broke. So I just want to share this with y'all because some of y'all may know about this case. Some of y'all may not know about this case. Okay. So more than 3 years after his wife Christine Banfield, and a stranger, Joseph Ryan, were murdered, Brendan Banfield has been sentenced to life in prison without parole. So, this diabolical piece of trash is going to be spending the rest of his life in prison. And damn right, like I said, in about 4 weeks, maybe I'll give him 2 months. In about 2 months' time, all right, he gonna be wearing Kool-Aid lipstick, holding the inside pocket of a man named Toby. Yeah. They're gonna have some fun with him in prison. Okay? Yeah, this is gonna be he gonna have some fun. It's gonna be fantastic. So let's go on. So more than 3 years after Christine, like we just read it before, Christine Banfield and Joseph Ryan were murdered. The case has come to a close. He has been found guilty. Brendan Banfield has been found guilty by a jury of murdering his wife, Christine Banfield, and a stranger, Ryan, after a high-profile 3-week-long murder trial in January. So Friday, the judge, sentenced him today, just a little bit ago, not like literally minutes ago, all right, sentenced him to life in prison without the possibility of parole for aggravated murder of more than one person in the same instance, and aggravated murder for more than one person within 3 years. So 5 years and 6 months for child endangerment and 3 years and 6 months for the use of a pew-pew in the commission of murder. All right. He conspired, this piece of trash conspired with his then side piece, who happened to be a Brazilian 22-year-old au pair. Don't know how to pronounce her last name. Juliana Perez. We're going to try it. Magalhães. Don't know. But she Brazilian. And she au pair. Oh, damn. Moving on. So he conspired to have her lure Joseph Ryan to the house, this stranger, Joseph Ryan, to the house, using an actual fetish website called FetLife. Okay. I'm sorry. I didn't know it was called FetLife. Okay. Sorry. The website got me. Sorry. They planned to frame Joseph Ryan for taking the life of Christine Banfield. Yeah. This is what prosecutors said. This is exactly what the plan was. So Juliana, or maybe it's Juliana, I don't know. Okay. But Juliana, all right, was arrested nearly a year before Brendan Banfield and detailed the pair's plan on the stand as part of her plea deal. So, yeah, she got a deal and she said, that man right there told me to do this. I lured the man from FetLife, yes. Mm-hmm. And then bad things happened. Okay? She was sentenced after the trial to 10 years in prison. 10 years! That's crazy. While she was working as his live-in nanny, how fitting, his live-in nanny, his live-in au pair, looking after his 4-year-old daughter, Brendan Banfield began an affair with Juliana. Just a few months into the affair, Brendan Banfield proposed that they get rid of Christine Banfield. So Juliana testified that Brendan Banfield, then an IRS special agent, concocted the entire elaborate plan. Of course he worked for the IRS. Using Christine's laptop, his wife, okay, the pair created an email address in her name and later used the email address to set up an account on FetLife. Yeah. They went to great lengths to try to take this woman out and try to cover up their wrongdoings, okay? So they set up an account. They created a fake account under her name, then set up an email address, in her name, then set up an account on FetLife. for people who are into some, some things, feet and stuff. Moving on. So maybe Mackenzie Sharilla was on here. I don't know. God only knows. Moving on. Then prosecutors said they posted an ad on the site asking for someone to come over to their house to play out a stranger R fantasy. It was on that website that they began messaging a guy named Joseph Ryan. And on February 24th, 2023, he went to that house. He went to that house where Brendan Banfield and Juliana, the au pair, shot and unalived him. Then, using a knife that they told Ryan to bring to the home, Brendan Banfield took that knife and attacked Christine Banfield in the neck 7 times. She passed away at a nearby hospital shortly after that. Brendan Banfield himself took to the stand during the trial, and he told a vastly different account of that morning and the months leading to it. It was the first and only time he spoke about it. So he probably was, committing perjury up in this mother lover. But let's continue. On trial, the defense tried to argue Christine Banfield made the accounts herself based on digital forensic reports. But expert witnesses couldn't place Christine Banfield or anyone definitively behind that actual screen. 2 of Ryan's and 1 of Christine's family members gave victim impact statements today. Ryan's aunt, Sangeeta Ryan, and Christine Banfield's sister, Danielle Banfield, both read victim. That's weird. Christine Banfield's sister, Danielle Banfield, maybe her sister-in-law? I don't know, but that doesn't make any sense because Brendan Banfield, this is his wife, and that's her. Was her maiden name the same last name as Brendan's? That doesn't make sense. But anyway, that might be a typo. Moving on. And Christine's sister, Danielle Banfield, both read victim impact statements in the courtroom. Ryan's mother, Deidre Fisher, that's a nice name. I haven't seen that in a long time, appeared virtually to speak as well. This was Joseph Ryan's mama that said that. Okay? So, again, this piece of trash, I'm going to have to find a photo of him really quick, but this piece of trash, Brendan Banfield, has been locked up, and he's going to be locked up for good. Look at this soft-looking ass. Look at his soft-looking face. He definitely looks like he works like he's an IRS special agent. Look at him. This male pat. He's thinning too, by the way. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be all gone. It's gonna be all gone. Walking around looking like Phil Collins up in this prison in no time flat. Okay? Studio. You know what I mean? Oh, actually, in his case, I can feel it coming in the air at night. You know what I'm saying? Oh, Lord. Yeah, he's screwed. Bye. You know what I mean? No one? Phil Collins? Nobody? Do. I can feel it coming in the air at night. That happens to be Toby in his case. He's literally and metaphorically screwed. Do you understand? Him gone. Booty hole destroyed. Actually, in case of his booty hole, it's sorry. He won't be pooping the same way in a long time. Yeah. I'm sorry. I love it when bad guys get in trouble. You know what I'm saying? It should all make us happy. You know what I'm saying? Look at this soft looking ass. He done. He done. He done. It's over. He's gone. Life in prison without the possibility of parole. Yes. Yes. When bad guys get locked up, I get very excited about that. You know, justice served. Okay. Booty hole destroyed. Like throwing a hot dog down a hallway in no time. But I'm just saying, like giving a tic tac to a whale. You know, he gonna have to walk around with a diaper. It's gonna be done. Destroyed. Destroyed. Yep. He's gonna be somebody's boo thing real soon. Okay, dropping all the soap. Get ready for it. Yeah, he's done. Okay, so let's move on from there. Now we got to get into the controversial things that we got to get into conversation about. And yes, I know that we're already going to be going into some very, very polarizing stuff. And I'm sorry to say that these are the breaks. This is just what we have to go through and what we have to talk about when it comes to this whole tragedy that happened at a track meet. So I'm glad, hopefully, we were able to share a laugh together right there. Because like I said, it's always great when you see bad guys. When you see the bad guys get in trouble and they get the justice served to them like they should. Like they should, okay? Excuse me. But we got to venture into uncharted, choppy territory. Let's just say that, okay? A lot of people are feeling some type of way about this particular case. Some people think that Karmelo Anthony is, this was done out of self-defense. Some people believe that this was done with malice. There are very conflicting pieces of information that are being said right now, which is very frustrating when it comes to the surveillance footage as well. We got to talk about that before we go into any of the stuff that's going on inside this courtroom. And you got to remember, a lot of this is a slow ass trickle. You know, it's trickling out like it almost seems like every half hour, maybe every hour. So like I said, I'm trying to give you guys as much of the information as I can while we are here. I can't be on for a long time or forever today, but we are here to do as much coverage as we can. And if there's any other recaps or anything that I can give you guys, then you'll see that in a video, or we'll be covering it the following day, when I can get in here and have some time. Okay? So here's the thing. One thing is for sure, there's a lot of people losing their doggone minds right now. Let me just say this really quick. Everybody that's out there, chill out. If you're watching this outside of the courthouse, everybody chill the F out. And also, I'm going to say this too. If you late to get into the mother-loving courthouse, then you late, boo-boo. Okay? You late. If you don't get in there, you late, girl. You late, homie. That's on you, son. Okay? Don't even bother trying to break your neck and possibly break other people's necks to try to get in that mother-loving room. If you don't get there on time because you overslept or you were irresponsible, that's on your ass. Sorry for yelling. I'm really sorry for yelling. I'm sorry. But I just want to make it clear, okay? Because we got a report here from WFAA telling us that people are literally breaking their necks trying to get into this trial. Some people are speeding down the road and people are jumping out of moving cars to try to get into this courtroom. And seating is very limited. Seating is extremely limited, and there's a lot of people that are willing to risk life and limb to try to get into this mother-loving, like, you know what I'm saying? People need to chill. People need to chill. Take a listen to this. This is unbelievable. This is really happening.
Enough words to describe the frenzy in the morning to get inside the 296th District Court here in Collin County. My name is Jobin Paniker. I'm a reporter with WFAA covering the track meet stabbing trial. We've seen people parked for close to an hour waiting to get inside this parking lot. We've seen lines formed outside the courthouse. As soon as that curfew lifts, there are drivers going 50 to 60 miles per hour rushing in to get a parking spot so they can run in and get a spot in line.
Let me just, first off, like, I get that this is a highly high profile case and that everybody and their mama wants to be there to cover it and see exactly what's going on. They don't want to miss a doggone thing. I don't want to miss a thing. Like, I get it. I fully get it. But at the same time, man, have mercy. People need to chill the F out. There are people fighting each other in the physical lines to get into the actual courtroom. People are bickering with each other, trying to get into the courtroom. Like I said, people are literally bugging, and people need to chill the F out. Oh, this verdict, sickly ignition. Let me tell you something. I'm really looking forward to this verdict too, but I'm dreading it too. Because either side is going to be, it's going to be bad. Okay? It's going to be bad, regardless what side of what they choose. If they say not guilty, one side of the world is going to implode. Excuse me. If they say guilty, another side of the world is going to implode. So this is bad. And I also want to point something out, okay? Because some of y'all got, very in your fifis. I'm unsubscribing because you said things about white people in the jury. Well, here's the thing. There are other reasons that, because people don't listen. See what I'm saying? As soon as you say, whoa, no black jury, no black jurors, then all of a sudden everyone's like, oh, you're the racist, Pascal. You're the racist. Well, I'm not. I have a reason why I said that. Because they could actually appeal if they do not have the verdict go their way. And then if they appeal and it gets approved, they can go through this all over again. You want it to be one and done. And this was a big mistake on prosecution, not only just on defense, because some of y'all are like, see, defense had a chance to do it and they failed. No, prosecution had an opportunity to bring at least one black juror in the jury pool, okay? And they failed too. They're screwed if this goes their way, if it goes to him being guilty and this was done maliciously, they could literally sit here and file for an appeal. They could argue that right in the people's face and say, we got to run it back, boo. And we don't want that. We want a fair, mother-loving trial. Don't worry, you're going to hear from a lawyer himself say it too, just so y'all know, because some of y'all who are watching will be like, oh, you're the racist, Pascal, you're the racist. Like, oh my God, clutching my pearls. How dare you say that? How dare you? What are you talking about? I'm talking about something that's very, very true. I'm talking about something that's very mother-loving true. Period. Has nothing to do with whether or not I'm like, oh, all these white jurors are just going to say that he's guilty. No. At the end of the day, what is this saying out to the people, to the public, the court of public opinion? And also, what is that saying to the court and Carmelo Anthony's team? They could literally run this back again. They could literally appeal and try to run this back because they will say it was an unfair trial. That's not what we want, period. But people get in their fifis. People get upset about me saying something that is freaking the truth. But it's fine. But they're also going insane outside and going insane trying to get into this trial. And we got to deal with this for 2 more weeks, guys. This trial is for 2 more mother-loving weeks. So get ready, because this is going to be a long, long ride.
Just saw a passenger jump out of a moving car to get into line.
See?
That's how crazy it is.
That's crazy.
I have to shout out the Collin County Sheriff's Department. They have done an incredible job trying to manage the public, trying to manage all of this, because this isn't easy. This is such a high-profile trial. Obviously, we can expect the state to call more witnesses today. We heard from 4 coaches yesterday. We can expect to probably hear from some students or former students. We'll have a full recap at the end today. We'll also have our streaming show called After the
Okay. And of course, they have their own streaming show, I guess, it's called After the Hearing. After the Hearing, Welcome to After the Hearing, starring I don't know who. But here we are to talk about Karmelo Anthony and Austin Metcalf trial. Anyway, very interesting stuff. Okay, very interesting that people are literally losing their doggone minds trying to get into this trial. Now, there is something I do want to share with y'all before we go into a bunch of other things. There is something I do want to discuss with you guys before we go into some of the recap of what happened yesterday and all that. There is an interview with a lawyer that on Fox News, by the way, for a fact, like it really speaks volumes when you have somebody in here that is saying like, yo, this ain't right. They messed up. They truly screwed up making this choice. I'm going to try to find that piece here. It's somewhere in this interview with this particular lawyer. This lawyer is saying, yo, the prosecution messed up. This is coming from Fox freaking News. The reason why I say Fox freaking News is you already know. You already know why. Okay? Because if this was coming from CNN, you'd be like, oh, yeah, because it's from CNN. Of course they would have a lawyer say this. Of course on CNN. This is on Fox News, y'all. He is saying this on Fox. And he says prosecution made a mistake by not putting not one black juror in that jury. We gonna listen to him, and he gonna say it. For all y'all in the nosebleed seats that are sitting there going, no, Pascal, you're the racist. No, I forbid to listen to this. You're gonna hear it anyway. Shall we?
Like this.
Yeah, so part of the jury selection process is going to be, especially from the defense perspective, is to make sure that we exclude any jurors who don't believe in the presumption of innocence. But the fact, when I did defense work, when you've got a client who's sitting there, the jurors are saying to themselves, hold on a second, he must have done something, otherwise he wouldn't have been arrested. We wouldn't be here. So, as a defense lawyer, you're already behind the 8 ball, even with the constitutional presumption of innocence. And so, as a defense lawyer, you kind of have to overcome that. So that's a problem for the defense. And honestly, I think the prosecution has a great case here. They really do.
And then I wanted to talk about that jury selection as well as
here it is.
There's been some controversy about that, as well as there being no black jury members on this trial. So can you explain to me the controversy behind that and how important jury selection is to a case? Can it really define its outcome here?
Yeah, jury selection is everything. If you can get the right jurors for your, who are hopefully going to see the case your way as a prosecutor, you're golden. But don't forget, you need 12 people on that jury who are going to find that you met your burden of proof. As the defense, I only need one person to say, hold on a second, this was a self-defense case, and my client potentially gets an acquittal. So there's the dichotomy in the jury selection. Now, the jury is supposed to reflect the community. It's supposed to be a jury of the defendant's peers. And I think from the defense perspective, they potentially have a get-out-of-jail-free card here. And as a prosecutor, as a former prosecutor, I cannot believe the prosecution actually made this mistake to exclude all of the African-American jurors, knowing you had an African-American defendant, knowing that you had a bunch of people outside the courthouse who feel that they're not, that their community, the African American community, is not going to get a fair trial, I think is a big mistake. You got to remember, as a prosecutor, you're not there just to convict. Your job is to make sure that the defendant gets a fair trial. And I honestly think if there's a conviction here, I think the appellate court is going to take a very hard look at this and potentially reverse this. This is a serious mistake by the prosecution. And jury selection is one of the ways that an appellate court will reverse a conviction. So we'll have to see how this plays out. But if I was a prosecutor, I would never have done this.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, my veteran esquire. Thank you so much, sir. Yes. Yes. This is not good. It's not good. This is coming from Fox News, by the way. I know some of y'all will be like, that doesn't mean nothing. It actually means a lot to me. When I listened to that, I was like, what? I ran over to, because I'm listening to it as I'm getting ready for my day and all that, and I'm listening to this interview, right? And then he said that, and I paused everything. I dropped everything, ran over, and I'm like, wait, what? Let me make sure I'm looking at the right thing. Did this skip? Did this skip to another video? Nope, it's the same interview. Word? This is coming from Fox. Wow. This is okay. All right then. He's saying that too. Yeah. Not a good look. Not a good choice for prosecution that they didn't even decide to put in not one person in there, not one black juror. Now, here's the other thing too. Same thing with defense. Defense screwed that up too. Because you just need one person. Just one. You just need one juror to sit there and go, well, you only need one. Now, I'm not sitting here saying that that's a shoo-in once you get that one black juror in there. That one black juror could sit there and go, nah. What? Nah, he did that. He guilty. They could literally do that too. Okay? Same thing, like when we look at this all, non-white jury. One of them could literally look and go, wait a second, though. He was defending himself. He got jumped. This is what I see, so on and so forth, right? You only need one. But they didn't put not one in there. That's a massive problem. There's a potential of this turning into an absolute train wreck at the end of this trial. This could come back and bite them, prosecution, right in the ass. And that's not what prosecution wants. Here's the other thing, too. And, I want to make this abundantly clear. Just because it's an all non-white jury does not automatically mean that he's cooked. They may be seeing the footage, they may be seeing the information, and they may go, wait a second, no, he was protecting himself. That ain't right. They only need one person to do that. One. Okay? Doesn't have to be a black juror or a non-white juror. Just has to be one person. Now, here's the thing. Because he does later on say, like, yeah, it's not good for prosecution because they could literally turn this all the way around. They could try to run this back, etc. And also the fact that you have a black community, you got in the area in which this trial is going on, court of public opinion, all of that. It's not good. It is not a good move for prosecution. But here's the thing too, just so you know, the defense, they dropped the ball too. They absolutely dropped the ball as well. They could have tried to conserve or save at least one of the black jurors to be a part of the jury as well. But apparently they were overruled for all of that. So it is what it is. We're going to see how this trial continues to go down. We'll see what kind of route it goes because it's getting very bumpy already as we speak. And the reason why I say that it's already getting bumpy as we speak is because people are telling us, the public, different things. we're hearing different stories, different breakdowns of what people are seeing with this video, with the surveillance footage that we all are waiting to hear some sort of details about what happened, right? About what is being depicted in this video. And right now, this is what's very interesting is now we're hearing different perspectives. We're hearing different accounts of what people are saying. I'm going to explain that in just a minute. Let me get this super chat here really quick. Messi, what's up? Thank you so much for the love. I appreciate it. This case isn't about race. It is not. You're right. It shouldn't be about race, right? The race of the jury doesn't matter. Sorry, not sorry. If someone is deaf, should they have a deaf jury? Get the F out. Here's the thing. I will say, when the public and how this case has been stacking up, it has become about race. Whether we like to admit that or not, I mean, I agree. This case should not be about race. It shouldn't. Okay? It should not. But the fact that it already is so racially divisive, how it is so, the tension is real. Okay? It's palpable. It's pretty damn intense. Okay? I think because of it being so racially dense, so racially motivated, whether we like that or not, that's where we are now. The media, social media, etc., took this case and ran with it solely because they saw the skin color of the Austin Metcalf skin and the color of Karmelo's skin, and they just turned that into a race situation. That's when you started hearing about black fatigue and all that. That's basically the start of black fatigue, just so you know. Started right around that same time. Okay? So again, whether we like it or not, it is. It is about race. I don't want it to be about race, but it is. So now they have to be very sensitive about who they put on that stand, or sorry, in that jury. They really do. Because whether we like it or not, it's about race now. Which is also, like I'll say, it's sad. Because instead of us actually looking at the facts, we're just looking at, oh, it's a black kid who took the life of a white kid. Well, what else? There's more to this, okay? There's more to this. It's beyond just color. Is this self-defense, or was this absolute murder? Those things matter too. Those things should be in the forefront. Not, can we get this black kid off? Or can we throw this black kid in jail because there's too many blacks killing whites? So I agree. It shouldn't be about race, but everybody turned it into race. So now here we are, you know? And that's the sad part about this whole thing. I do think that, especially with everything optically, it would have been good to have at least one black juror in there. I do think that, okay? But that's not the case here. So all they can do is fight a good fight in this courtroom on both sides and present the best that they can from both sides so that this jury can come up with their conclusion. Okay? But again, we'll see what happens here. All right? Now, here's the thing. Like I was saying before, some places are saying one thing about what is being seen in the video, and some places are saying other things about what are seen in the video. Now, I don't know if you guys remember yesterday, but we watched a live from Court TV where we heard Cody, okay, the reporter. I forgot it's Cody. I forgot his last name. I apologize. But from Court TV, Cody, he said something about what he saw in the court, like in the courtroom, as far as the surveillance video. He said it was very murky, like it was very, like he said something like humanoids type of blurry kind of images. Cody Banks. Is it Cody Banks? I apologize. Okay. But you see that he's explaining like, okay, I saw it, but it was kind of blurry. It was just kind of hard to make out certain things. Yes, you could see images moving around, so on and so forth. But at the same time, it is just very murky footage, right? But then we hear something completely different from another person who claims that he saw the surveillance video, and he gives us a different account of what he saw. And this video is getting shared like crazy right now. So let's take a look and listen to what he says he saw. And it says here too, a man who says he was allowed to view the surveillance video during the early stages of the investigation into the incident involving Karmelo and Austin has publicly shared his account of what he saw, or what he says he saw in the footage. So the video recorded inside the stadium, or the video recorded inside the stadium, is considered a key piece of evidence as this whole trial continues in Collin County. So let us hear what he has to say. And of course, I would say we have to take it with a grain of salt, but let's just take a listen to what he says, what he saw.
Clear enough where you can see the actual individual raindrops come by the camera.
Okay.
That's how clear it is.
You seen the video your own 2 hours. Was it clear enough, or was it fuzzy, or what?
No, it was clear.
Okay.
It's clear enough where you can see the actual individual raindrops come by the camera.
Okay.
That's how clear it is. You actually see them walking up. You see that Karmelo is already up under there. He's under there minding his business.
Dodging the rain, or?
Yeah, it was still raining. You know,
Right.
being familiar, I'm familiar with them. So that day we were under a tornado watch.
Right.
And we were under thunderstorm warning. And we know we had already had some light rain then, and it started raining again. Then it was over with for the day.
Okay.
So that's kind of what happened on that day. But they were at a rain delay already. And so during that time when that happened, the twins, their 2 buddies, and a few other kids, because there was a few kids involved with them, they were all coming from the direction of the middle school,
Right.
coming walking back up.
Right.
On the video, you can see those 4 that actually was involved, and maybe about 3 or 4 others that was with them, skipping up, trying to catch up behind. One veered off probably toward his way to go to the coach and
Okay.
kind of distract him a little bit. And then the other 4 came walking together. One went in front of them, went past.
Right.
The other 4 went and they surrounded Karmelo. You know, if you're Karmelo,
And they showed that on that video.
it's on the video.
Okay, come on.
You can see them walk
I'm gonna
up.
say little
And
stuff.
I'll put
while
it
you
this
talking.
way.
Okay.
They actually tell you when you're watching the video, pay attention to this corner right here, because if you look anywhere else, you might miss different things.
Okay.
So watch those 4. Here they're 4 right there coming up.
Right.
That's exactly what they say.
Okay.
And so you have no way to be confused that it's those 4.
Okay.
So they come up, they surround them, and it's immediate moment of not even a few seconds of pause. Then that's when they jump. And so
they
it was,
actually did jump him.
yeah, it wasn't just no touch. It wasn't just all that moment. Yeah, it was a push. It was all kind of things. But Austin pushed, Hunter hit, and then everybody swung. But at the same time,
So it's
Karmelo,
more than the twins that got some licks
all
on
4.
them. So it showed that in the video.
Yes, in the video. So again, you got Hunter and Austin standing in the middle,
Okay.
and you have the light bright boy here, and you have the darker boy here.
Okay.
I think that's what I remember. So I have to go back and think about it. But that's where they were. One was going up and down while they were talking and kind of pushing or whatever he was doing. Austin and Hunter was in front. So where they're talking about grabbing bags, Hunter actually said that I grabbed his bag.
Right.
And then later on, he said that Austin threw the bag.
Okay.
Jeff also said the same thing. And so that's them both antagonizing. And we
Right.
know under Texas law, I just have the fear that you're about to do something to me and you can get up out of here. Yeah, so you don't have to touch me. But at that point, he still stood there and stopped there. And whatever they say alleged was said, you don't know that until they get into it here. But once they did that, they started hitting him. Karmelo actually was able to back out and try to get away. So he was actually trying to get away the first time. Austin grabbed him, and you can see his hoodie coming out like this, and they brought him back in.
Okay.
And when they brought him back in, that's when you can see Austin put him in a headlock. You can see that all the rest of them are still hitting. That must be when the poke happened, because he was able to get out again. He backed out. He looked to the right. That's where the other little kid was filming.
I mean, you know what's crazy is that he's claiming that 4 kids came to him. He's claiming 4. 4. So again, this is what one guy is saying on what he saw in the surveillance video. Now, this is just one person's account. This is also a matter of if this person is telling the truth or not. I don't know. But there are some serious claims to say out loud, oh, yeah, I saw the footage and this is what I saw. And then in my mind, I'm like, well, why? I mean, there's plenty of reasons. Somebody said, why would he lie? There are plenty of reasons why anybody would lie, to fit the narrative that they are trying to put out there, you know what I mean? But at the same time, 4 kids came at him. So again, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know. This is something that is being shared like crazy all throughout the internet. And, I'm just sharing with y'all. Okay.
Because they got some cell phone footage too. But that's where he was filming. He looked directly at him in his camera. And then he went this way to the left. He went down. He fell. And that's when they realized he was gone, because they were still punching. And when he fell, that's when they all turned around. They started chasing him. Austin tried to go chase him too, but he grabbed his chest. I guess he realized that something happened to him.
So after Austin had been, okay, according to this guy, after Karmelo, stuck, for lack of a better term, okay, we got to use these code words as best as we can, stuck Austin kind of stepped back a little bit because he had just been attacked by, he'd just been stuck by Karmelo, but the other 2 or 3 kids were still going after Karmelo, right? Still going after him, like, hitting him and stuff. And then that's when the brother, Hunter, as he said in the interview, he said, I spun around, or I turn around. So maybe that's partly the truth, but maybe that's when he turned around and realized that his brother had been attacked, right? That Austin had been attacked. That's when they stopped attacking Karmelo. And so that got Karmelo an opportunity to run away. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if this is true or not. Okay, I don't. But I know that this is something that is being shared a lot all over the social media platforms right now.
And that's when he went down a little bit and he fell down. But all 3 of them were chasing. But Karmelo was so fast, he got away and went around to the coach. And so you can see them on the video pointing toward Karmelo and the coach. And I can imagine, because Karmelo's out of the camera on that moment, that he was telling the coach what happened. And then that's when Hunter said he whipped his head around. That's a true statement. He just wasn't sitting when he did. He whipped his head around. You see him on the video. And that's when he walked over to where Austin was, but he never touched him. So all that stuff about him rendering aid and holding his heart, he never did that, because the coach grabbed him and he was holding him.
Interesting. That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Beautiful messy ball. How do we know this guy was even in the courtroom, or how was this guy even able to view the surveillance footage in the early stages? That's what it says in this post here, that he was able to see the surveillance footage in the early stages of the investigation into this whole tragedy. So how did he get access? And why didn't he speak out before? Why are we hearing it now? Would he be gagged, if that makes any sense? Would he be permitted from, sharing that information when he got a chance to see the footage? I don't know. That doesn't make any sense. And how did he see the footage so much clearer than everyone else? See, that's the thing I'm wondering too. You see what I'm saying? So again, a part of me is like, we're hearing different accounts. Some, because again, we're going to go back to what Cody Banks said. Okay. He actually did speak about it again on Long Crime. he explains it a little bit better. Excuse me. In Long Crime, but like I said, something about this just seems a little bit strange, if you ask me. I'm not sitting here saying that the guy is lying. I'm just saying, is it the truth or not? Right? I'm curious. All right. So again, something that just seems a little bit strange. That's which is that account, and it's getting a lot of people riled up in the streets. I will tell you that there's a lot of people that are angry because they've seen, they're seeing the footage and they're going, or they're hearing about what he saw in the footage, and they're definitely feeling some type of way about it. Hold on. I already read that one. So thank you so much for the comment and the super chat. Beautiful messy ball. Okay. But we're going to continue on. Okay. Like I said, I already know that, you know, people, this is a very heated situation. A lot of people feeling some type of way, you know, about all of this. And I get it. I fully get it. But nonetheless, we all need to keep our composure and we all need to chill. And as we continue to proceed into more conversations,
confrontation,
and more topic, you know, and more coverage about this. Now, I'm going over to again over to Long Crime because Cody Banks went or Cody. I don't know his last name. All right, everyone's saying different names in there. So Cody did say some things, and I'm curious about this too. Okay, I want to hear a little bit more of his insight about what he saw too. So let's take a listen to this.
At the start of their opening statements today, they took the approach of trying to paint Karmelo Anthony not as a killer.
And this is from yesterday, just so you know, okay?
But telling the jury that he's a good kid. This is a guy who was voted captain of his football team. He's someone who has never been in trouble with the law. He works multiple jobs. He enjoys playing chess. He enjoys going camping. They say that he is not the monster that prosecutors are alleging that he is. Now, witness testimony is going to be a driving force behind this trial, but also today, prosecutors showed surveillance video of the incident. Cody Thomas of Court TV.
Y'all are terrible people. It's Cody Thomas. Jesus, I'm like, Cody Banks, that doesn't sound right either. But okay, Cody Banks, my bad. No, Cody Thomas. I am so sorry, Cody Thomas. He's been doing a great job, okay? And big fan of his work. I just forgot his last name, so I apologize, okay? Let me just repeat that again. Cody Thomas, everybody. Cody mother-loving Thomas.
Who was in the courtroom today for all of the testimony. Cody, I know that there's a 911 call that was played that we'll talk about, some very emotional testimony there at the end of the day, but I want to begin right after opening statements. Surveillance video of this incident was shown. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, Chris, it was 5 different angles, surveillance video. Looked like the cameras were on like the light post inside the high school football stadium because they were very wide shots. So the first witness was a forensic video analyst who obviously went through and tried to enhance the videos. We watched the original videos first, and quite frankly, you really couldn't see much of anything. And then after a few minutes, we zoomed in. He showed all the enhancements, and he had spot shadowing and highlighting who we're supposed to be looking at. You can't really make out any distinct features, and the prosecution admitted that before they even played the video. They had to look at clothing and identify the person of interest, who of course is Karmelo Anthony, and the victim, who is Austin Metcalf. So they outlined all of that based on the photos that came out later once Karmelo was taken into custody. But again, the videos, it establishes what happened. You can definitely make out what happened, but it wasn't, to me personally, as compelling as I thought it would be, because it looks like gas station video. It's really grainy. It's zoomed in. When it's zoomed out, it looks high quality, but when it zooms in, as you know, with any picture, it loses some of the quality. But you can see the tent where everything goes down. You see Karmelo Anthony walk under the tent 2 minutes before Austin Metcalf and his friends get to the tent, and then everything starts going down within 4.5 minutes. You see, just kind of some humanoid blobs under the yellow Memorial High School tent, and then you see one figure kind of jolt, really fast jolt to and from, which they were saying, the prosecution was saying, that was the initial push. They're not denying that Austin Metcalf, made physical contact. They admitted that there was a physical altercation, but that was the moment you saw the push. And then, of course, you see the 25, 30 kids start scattering throughout the bleachers, and then you see the person of interest, again, Karmelo Anthony, running down the bleachers, running a ways away from where the tent was, out onto the track and into the arms of another coach, Chris. But again, the video, of course, is...
So again, he doesn't say anything about seeing 4 figures still going after and hitting Karmelo at all. There is an altercation for sure. There is a jolt, like somebody got shoved, and that definitely is Karmelo Anthony, but he doesn't say anything as of yet. We're going to continue on, but he doesn't say anything about 4 individuals going after and pummeling Karmelo, or continuing to pummel Karmelo Anthony after Austin Metcalf was actually stabbed. I'm just giving you guys I'm just reiterating what he is saying. All right, that is just insane, right? Nothing in comparison to what we heard from the video we just heard a second ago. Not at all. We don't hear about 4 individuals. We don't hear about him being jumped, so on and so forth. All of them are grainy videos. He says humanoid type blobs, you know, because they had to zoom in to it all. Now, again, maybe there's more footage. Maybe there's cell phone footage and all that they haven't shown. But I would think that they would have shown that footage already. They would have used that in their opening statements, right? Wouldn't they have used that information, those videos? We have the surveillance video, and we have multiple angles from cell phones showing us exactly what happened. Here they are. They didn't do that. Now, again, this trial is still very young. It's just started. It's day 2 of the trial after this whole, 3-day jury selection process. But at the same time, I just find it very interesting that the videos that we're seeing right now are grainy and blurry and don't give us a good idea of what actually happened. That is a big problem. But let me continue. Let me let Cody Thomas finish what he has to say.
Establishing, giving us, painting a picture of what it looked like that morning. This all happened around 10:02 in the morning, right when the track meet was supposed to start. Just really giving us a scene setter, just to allow us to understand what was really going down that day.
And we don't have cameras in the courtroom, as we've said. I mean, and I know things got emotional near the end of the day. And we'll talk about some of these witnesses here in the moment, some of these coaches that witnessed what happened. They witnessed the aftermath. But what's the layout of the courtroom? Like, what was Karmelo Anthony's, what did he seem like as all of this was going on today?
So I'm positioned right behind the Metcalf family. So it's a very small courtroom, Chris. Only seats about 60, 65 people. Each side, each family gets 15 people each, so that's 30. You have 9 of us media people, that's 39, and then plus court staff. So it's about 45 seats already taken up before members of the public can get inside, which that only allowed for 25. I think the exact number this morning was 27 members of the public who are allowed to come in. But of course you have the Metcalf family on one side, the Karmelo Anthony camp on another side, and I'm watching Karmelo during all of these videos, all of the emotional testimony from the different coaches and witnesses, because, I mean, at the end of the day, he stabbed a kid to death. Whether, it's proven to be self-defense, whether it's proven to be murder, whether it's manslaughter, you still took a human life. And I'm looking at him, and he was kind of stoic. He wasn't really emotional. He was watching the videos. He didn't turn away from the videos. But I'm looking at Austin Metcalf's family, and his father, is fully engaged in everything, but every so often, every 10 to 15 minutes, his father would just kind of put his head in his hands like this, and I'd see him nod his head no, just, of course, overwhelming emotion there. But I'm looking back and forth trying to gauge the dynamics between both of them, between the alleged aggressor and the victim here. And there was stoicism on this side and clear emotion on the Metcalf side, as expected.
Yeah, I mean, you just think of the weight of everything we're talking about, and even the possibility for Karmelo Anthony that he could be sent to prison for the rest of his life. That's, and it's something where we cover these trials, and you just think of the weight of everything that's going on, and of course for these families and what's going through their minds as all of this is going on. The testimony of some of the coaches who were there, who were witnesses, it seems like this is where things got really emotional today. What, as you kind of reflect back, and I know you just stepped out of court and you're probably still processing everything you heard over several hours, but I mean, when you think of the moment today of where things got emotional, what would be that moment for you?
The moment for me, Chris, was we had several coaches and athletic trainers. They were all at the meet that day, all from different schools. Some of them, knew of each other just because coaches in the same district. All of them had different unique perspectives as to what happened, how they participated in aiding Austin, where they were when they heard the commotion go down. But for me, Chris, it was this last witness before I came out of the courtroom now, a coach named Joshua Redmond, who was a defensive coordinator, a track coach, football and track, they kind of coincide in high school sports. He was there at the track meet with Liberty High School, whose tent was only about 20 feet from Memorial High School, where the whole stabbing went down. And it was established at the beginning of his testimony that he was a 14-year combat Iraq vet, that he did 3 tours in Iraq, and he's seen death. He's a 100% disabled veteran. He told the court that he's been blown up 3 times, twice in a Humvee, once in a house. So he's seen, carnage before.
He's seen
So he
things.
talks about he was standing there talking to another coach, and he wasn't hearing anything, and all of a sudden it was just kids scattering, just a bunch of yelling and screaming. He goes over there, he realizes what's happened. He has no relationship with the Metcalf family at all. He only knows the Metcalf twins through the schools playing football. He says he gets over there, he sees Austin kind of sunken back into the fence on the bleachers. And he's looking at him and he said, someone's told him I've been stabbed, and he's holding his abdomen. Coach says he looks down, he sees the blood coming through his hands, and he immediately takes his jacket off and starts, applying pressure to the wound. And he says he sees, the color draining from Austin's face, and eventually starts seeing his eyes roll back. So while that all sounds emotional, Chris, this is the part that got me. Because he's seen death before, this coach who was a more than a decade combat vet, the kid, Austin, he stops breathing at some point in time. They lose a pulse. So he's back there doing the CPR, doing the chest compressions. Another coach is doing the mouth-to-mouth. And so he's clearly not breathing. And one coach is on 911, on the phone with 911. And then he starts talking about the type of breathing that many of us refer to as your last breaths. And he's looking up at the coach that's on the phone with 911. He's looking down at the kid, passing away here. And those breaths start to come. Those last breaths start to happen. And the coach on the phone with 911 is like, oh, he's breathing again. He's breathing again. But the coach Redmond, who is on the stand, says he knew that was it because he's heard the last breaths before. He knew those weren't the normal breaths of someone who's kind of struggling or straining to breathe. He knew those were the last moments, and he said he didn't say anything because he didn't want to kill, the morale and the hope. Everyone's hoping, you can hear on the 911 call him saying, stay with me, Austin, stay with me. Come on, you're here, everything's fine. But he said even when he was doing those compressions, he heard those last breaths. He just knew it was over. And when you hear that, coupled with the 911 call, Chris, that was the most emotional moment for me right before walking out of this courtroom just a few moments ago.
Yeah, I mean, I just reading the notes of the day of what happened. I got chills just reading it. And you just think of the chaos of the moment and the fact that.
I mean, it's all very, very sad. I mean, you hear this account and you're like, wow, because there was one part that one of the coaches said, as soon as he said as soon as the rain, it seems like the rain stopped or it picked up or something like that, he knew that's when he knew that Austin was gone, and I mean, I feel like that's an emotional thing to hear on either side of the either side of the political aisle, just hearing a kid losing his life in this kind of way is really, really sad. And then, of course, you talk about what actually happened before the actual altercation, right? It's the conversation that was had between Karmelo and Austin, and it looks like Hunter as well. Maybe there were some other kids behind them, being like, yeah, man, get the hell out of here. What are you doing here? Bro, what are you doing here, bro? What are you doing? You know what I mean? Just that verbal altercation that was happening before everything went down is very interesting. And yes, I agree, Messi. That's exactly what I was just about to say. The part about it, the tents being like a locker room, I think is very, very important. Because again, it's like the bleacher, or it's like the, it's like the sidelines, right? It's like that the bleacher that the team sits on as they're getting ready to get out on the field, or as they're getting ready to get out on the court and play and compete. It's weird if you saw the Knicks and the Bulls, suddenly a Knicks player walks over and sits at the Bulls side of the court. It would be weird. They'd be like, what are you doing here, man? Get over there. You're supposed to be over there. Get the hell out of here. What are you doing here, man? So I get the instant, knee-jerk reaction of an opposing teammate being on that side or being under that tent. But then there's the other part where the Centennial High School did not have a tent at all. So they were just sitting out in the rain. So he may have just been desperate to find anywhere to get out from under the rain as well. Like I said, I ain't taking any sides. I'm just pointing out the facts here and what could have possibly happened here. But of course, he ran under the wrong tent. Clearly, he ran into the wrong tent, and they were not cool with him being there. Let's not forget also, which we're going to be discussing here in just a little bit, the text messages that the head coach for Austin Metcalf's team, the text messages that he actually sent Austin that day, which was basically like, I need you to step up. I need you to be a leader. You can't just be leaving track, early so you can go fishing with your dad. That's not good, right? So again, very, very interesting stuff. Very, very interesting stuff that's going on. It's just all of it is, it all plays a part. But at the end of the day, I don't think that this young man should have died. Okay? I don't think that this young man should have lost his life. I really don't. I still want to know why Karmelo brought a knife to a track meet. I still want to understand that too. But then at the same time, I really do want to see the severity of the attack on Karmelo. Because again, getting shoved, does that automatically equate to getting a knife in the chest? Does that justify that or not? Right? So again, like I said, a lot of this needs to be hopefully exposed or unearthed in this trial. Okay? So again, I got questions. I know a lot of y'all do too. Let me just let them play. Let me play a little bit more of this, and then we got to get straight into the nitty gritty. Okay?
This was a high school track meet, and suddenly you have a combat war veteran trying to save the life of a young man who had just been stabbed. What did the jury look like? In all of this, because I just think of the idea of this 911 call playing and just the description of Austin, stay with me, and to hear that chaos, like when things got emotional, what did the jury look like?
So, of course, you had throughout the day some of this testimony is going on. The jury's mixed, kind of evenly split between men and women. And of course, you have the people who are just kind of shaking their heads, closing their eyes, maybe looking away. But when I saw real emotion where, tissue had to be handed out to some of the men on the jury, no less as well, Chris, was during that 911 call. It went on for maybe 10 or 12 minutes. You heard the other coach, Coach Thayer, who wasn't a witness, but his name was established. He's on the phone. Hey, we got a kid that's just been stabbed. They're saying it was another student from another school. They don't know him. But it wasn't really what was being said by the coach who was on the phone with the operators, what you could hear in the background. All the shouting, again, all the come on, Austin, stay with me. And there was a point in time, Chris, where you can literally hear the rhythmic chest compression. You can just, the voice of whoever was talking, you can just hear it against the bleachers. And I looked over at the jury, and you see it was 2 or 3 men wiping their eyes. Of course, a couple of the women had their face in their hands, tears were falling. Not visceral crying to where it's audible, but you could see the emotion was definitely running throughout that jury as they were watching.
Yeah, and I just think of the defense, part of this as well, because there is no question about the fact that Karmelo Anthony stabbed Austin Metcalf. The question is, was this murder? For a lot of these cross-examinations today, where you would have the emotional testimony of what people witnessed, like how would you characterize how the defense is going about kind of trying to weather the storm of so much emotion coming from what Karmelo Anthony allegedly did to Austin Metcalf?
Yeah, Chris, the defense didn't really attack as aggressively as I thought they would during this emotional testimony, which can be looked at in a positive or negative way, depending on how you look at it, on what side of the fence you're on. But one of the questions that the defense attorney asked every single witness, we're talking about the tents. And a lot of these coaches, being coaches in competitive sports and being in the culture of track and field, they were talking about track and field culture, how each tent is kind of like your locker room. For example, if you're in the NBA or the NFL, you have 2 locker rooms, and players don't go back and forth between each other's locker rooms. And they were trying to explain that the tents were kind of the same thing. You might walk by and see your friend that you say, hey, what's up? But you're not hanging out under the tents. But
you got to remember, it was raining. So, Mimi, thank you so much for the super sticker. But you got to remember that it was raining. Okay. So that's a factor that we got to keep in consideration too. Just saying that out loud.
What the defense kept harping on with each witness, you know, there was the whole idea of the rain delay and the rain was coming down. Centennial High School, where Karmelo Anthony went, was the only school here that did not have a tent posted up that day. And he kept saying that to each witness. Did you know the Centennial High School did not have a tent? And they were, you know, no, I was unaware, you know, what have you. And then he would follow up saying, well, it would make sense for a student to want to get out of the rain. And they were, you know, that's a fair assessment. No one wants to get drenched. He asked that question pertinently with every single witness. I understand the generality of the question, but I don't know what that question has to do with a first-degree murder charge. But other than that, Chris, he didn't really harp on anything in an aggressive manner with any of this emotional testimony going on here today.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting because it was constantly noted, like, track and field culture about these tents, and you know, maybe talking about like why Karmelo Anthony was there, and then what led to a confrontation as to why Austin Metcalf really wanted Karmelo Anthony out from under that tent. One witness that stood out to me, I think his name is Vincent Hooper, and he was another coach. He's the head football coach, and a lot of these coaches coach track, of course, at Heritage High School. And he was someone who was with Karmelo Anthony right after all of this happened. There's no question, after Anthony allegedly stabs Austin Metcalf, he runs. And the question is, was he running because he knew what he did and that it was murder and he was trying to flee? Or was it a situation where he was defending himself and he was just trying to get away from the situation? What stood out to you about what Vincent Hooper had to say as far as what Karmelo Anthony was doing just in the moments after he had stabbed Austin Metcalf?
So before we talk Hooper, Chris, we got to establish the moments before Karmelo got to Hooper. Yeah. And that was the coach that was testifying before Hooper took the stand. All these coaches, by the way, are from different schools. But she was an athletic trainer, one of the girls' coaches with another opposing school's track and field team. She was saying, you know, where she was when she heard the commotion, she had, CPR training. So she ran to Austin to try to render some aid. When she got over there, she heard all the kids saying, oh, that kid right there, he stabbed Austin, that one right there, they're pointing at him. So she turns around, she looks at him and, calls him out. Hey, says whatever she says to him, and Karmelo stops. And as soon as she stops, Coach Hooper's right there, and she looks to Coach Hooper saying, they said he stabbed this kid, Austin Metcalf. Don't let Karmelo Anthony leave. So, Hooper's like, what do you mean stab? He's flustered. He said he didn't even register what was really going on. He heard the commotion. He saw his students running and they're saying the stabbing thing, but he said it just wasn't really computing in his head. So he looked to Karmelo Anthony, who was standing right next to him, and he said he just put his arm around him and they just went walking around the track. And Hooper said that he looked at him and said, you stabbed someone, son? And then Karmelo responds to him, he put his hands on me. He put his hands on me. Yeah, I stabbed him. And Hooper says he looked at him and told him, well, if that kid dies, your whole life changes today. And then he said, Karmelo looked back at him and said, well, he's not gonna die. And then Hooper said, okay, but if he does, and Hooper said before he could even finish, Karmelo started crying and they just continued to walk. And Coach Hooper said that he felt that Karmelo's emotions were genuine. He said he didn't feel that they were some kind of fabrication. I mean, he was literally crying moments after what happened. So it was kind of this intimate moment he was describing. And, you're looking at a 17-year-old kid who just made the biggest mistake of his life here. So that really stood out to me, Chris, just the intimacy of what he was talking about. He's just walking with this kid whose life clearly has changed in the last year since April 2025.
Yeah, and to think, again, like what his reality may be if this is a guilty verdict. Of course, it's only day one of this trial of Karmelo Anthony facing a charge of first-degree murder.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is obviously a very highly volatile case to say the least. And there's some other updates that we're going to get into here. But first things first is getting back to the things, some of the coverage of what happened yesterday. Before we go into the recent updates of what's going on now. So let me just pull these up right quick so we can see, because there's a bunch of different places we're going to be looking at. Okay. But this is all from yesterday. Okay. So, the judge, okay, presiding over the case, and this is some of the things I talked about yesterday, okay? The jury's made up of 11 women, 7 men. They were seated as, Anthony's parents and Metcalf's parents sat on the opposite sides of the courtroom. Karmelo Anthony looked on, dressed in a suit and tie. The prosecution opened first with Collin County First Assistant District Attorney Bill Wiersky. I don't know how to say that correctly. I'm sure we're going to hear his name corrected in the very near future. But anyway, he wasted no time and dived right into the tragedy. He told the jury that Karmelo plunged a knife and buried it into the heart of another young man, causing his demise, and then ran away. So the prosecution said the case has nothing to do with race or anything to do with Karmelo Anthony's claims that he was acting in self-defense. He called this unaliving, this tragedy, of Austin Metcalf, unjustified and senseless. The prosecution also said that the video will tell the story of Austin Metcalf's killing and told the jury they'll hear from numerous witnesses who were there. So numerous witnesses, that's the big part. Hearing from the witnesses that were actually at the moment, right there at the moment when Austin Metcalf had that knife plunge into his chest. I think that's the biggest part. Yes, there are, the track coaches and all that, the people that were there after the fact. But the thing that we're all sitting, waiting at bated breath for is the accounts from eyewitnesses that were there the moments before, during, and right after that knife plunged into Austin Metcalf's chest. Defense says Karmelo Anthony reacted out of fear before allegedly taking the life of Austin Metcalf. So the lead attorney for Karmelo Anthony, Mike Howard, began by stating that there was a lot of noise around the case that is taken away from the person that Karmelo Anthony is. A son, a brother, the oldest of four, and a friend and an A student. Okay, not a straight A student, but an A student. Howard described his Karmelo's success as a student/athlete, all while being diagnosed with epilepsy. He then shared how Karmelo ended up in the section where he allegedly got into this altercation with Austin Metcalf. So he says that Karmelo walked around to get out of the rain and recognized someone near the memorial tent. So where he entered and was told to leave by Austin Metcalf. He said Karmelo, who is only 5'8" and about 130 pounds, was confronted by Austin Metcalf and his twin brother, Hunter Metcalf, who are 6'1" and 215 pounds. So they're big old boys, all right? Howard said that the jurors will hear two different accounts of how the confrontation happened, but wanted to make it clear Austin Metcalf made the first physical contact in spite of warning, quote unquote, to not touch Karmelo Anthony. He said also Anthony made a split-second decision out of fear. Moving on. So we already talked about this video expert, but just a quick recap. Following the opening statements, prosecution called its first witness. His name is Mark Porter. He is a video analyst. All right. He shared his background and knowledge of video enhancement including the surveillance video that was captured the actual attack. The prosecution then entered the enhanced surveillance video as evidence in the case and showed jurors the first frame, a wide shot of the stadium showing both Austin and Hunter Metcalf walking into the stadium and Anthony being escorted out in handcuffs by police. Jurors then began watching the surveillance video frame by frame leading up to the actual attack. While Porter, the video analyst expert, testifies about the analytics of his work. So the jurors saw the moment students gathered under a yellow tent with the Memorial High logo. And at 10 a.m. timestamp, okay, at the 10 a.m. timestamp, there's some pushing among individuals under the back of the tent. Some pushing among individuals under the back of the tent, but it's difficult to tell what's happened. Then the video shows all those under the tent scatter quickly. The video then shows Karmelo Anthony running out of the stadium less than a minute after the actual attack. Prosecutors are painstakingly going over the video, showing the jury only a few seconds of it at a time. The video from a video from another camera angle shows Karmelo Anthony being chased while running near the edge of the stadium. He puts his hands up in the air before two uniformed police officers handcuff him. He was being chased at one point. Interesting. But he ran, and I think people, and then of course people were chasing after him because of what he had done, right? Defense cross-examines video expert witness, criticizes surveillance video. So, after a noon lunch break on Thursday, yesterday, the court resumed, with the prosecution continuing to show the jury both the unaltered and enhanced videos of the moments leading up to the actual attack. But according to CBS News Texas reporter J.D. Miles, so far, the magnified videos, which have never been viewed by public, still do not produce a clear visual of what happened under the tent in the bleachers of the stadium where Austin lost his life. Prosecution then passed the witness to the defense for cross-examination. And so we already talked about this, but of course, defense attorney Toby Shook commented on how unclear the video of the incident was, asking the question, "You really can't tell what people are doing under the tent, can you?" Concerning whether you can tell what led up to the actual stabbing. The witness, the porter, answered, "No, sir." So then Shook asked, "There's really no way to determine when an argument starts or stops, can you?" Porter says, "No, sir." You wouldn't be able to tell the jury there was an actual argument? Shook asked. Porter says, "No, sir." Interesting. So the track coach has been called. This is where we stopped yesterday, okay? So we got many miles to go before we sleep. So please do me a favor. If you appreciate this breakdown, we're going to be covering this, for the next few, up until the verdict, right? So if you appreciate these updates and these breakdowns, please do me a favor. It's a small ask, all right, but it helps us grow. It helps us continue doing what we're doing here. Hit that subscribe button. Of course, hit that like button down below. Can we get it past, can we get it to like 800 likes? That would be amazing, okay? Hit that like button down below. Let's get it to 800 likes. That would be amazing. Hit that subscribe button. Subscribe. All right. And we're going to keep an eye on this case and talk about this and look at the facts and see how this ends. See how this ends up. Okay. So make sure you hit the like, hit that notification bell, or hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Okay. But we got miles to go here. So let's get into it. Okay. So state calls Frisco Memorial High's head coach. Okay. His name is Rob Starr. All right. So Starr is also the position coach for the football team as well at Memorial High, and knew both Austin and Hunter Metcalf and their parents. Okay. Starr said that the tents at the track meets are a big deal. He says, in quotations, $1 million industry, and help keep everybody separated, adding that a coach usually hangs out by the tent for proximity control. Interesting. The coach also said that, quote unquote, weapons are not allowed in any shape, form, or fashion. That's also a big deal. Just so you know. Very, very big deal. Moving on. Starr said that students have to sign a code of conduct, which includes that they will not bring weapons. He says, quote unquote, "You wouldn't expect that at a Frisco ISD track meet," said Starr. I'm still wanting to know, why did Karmelo bring a knife to a track meet? Why, right? But that's very interesting that this track coach, Rob Starr just said that. Moving on, though. Coach testifies about his final moments at the track meet. So he said that the Memorial was the host school for the actual track meet on April 2nd, 2025. He added that the team would be down certain coaches because of the responsibilities that come with being the host school. Due to that, he enlisted some of the throwers who are typically the leaders, including Austin and Hunter Metcalf, to help, saying the throwers are usually in charge of setting up the tents. So, Starr said he sent a text to Austin Metcalf that day that he needed him to step up and help. Starr said that heading into the district meet, he was a little upset with Austin Metcalf. At a previous meet, he said Austin Metcalf threw and then left early to go fishing. That's kind of irresponsible. You should stay with your team until the event is over, right? But that got him kicked off the team. Austin got kicked off the team. But then they talked, and he let him back on. So the coach said there was never a rain delay, that day, and Memorial athletes were mostly under the tent, though some other school athletes went back to their buses because there were no tents. I guess they didn't have tents, right? So I keep on saying Steve, Starr had to leave to get a crock pot from a coach who was waiting in concessions for him around 10 a.m. He heard a commotion, so he started hustling to see what happened, dropping the crock pot and starting to jog. He then jumped the fence and tried to get back to the tent. I'm thinking, man, there are no coaches by my tent. This is what he said on the witness stand. I come over there and my memory is kind of shaky, but what I do see is Austin on the ground, his face is purple, and he has a hole in his chest. Man. Holding back tears, Starr said everyone was screaming his name. He said Hunter said, "Coach Starr, do something." The coach testified that he was told Karmelo Anthony did it, quote unquote, did it. He hopped over the gate and approached Anthony. Interesting. And he stopped him. It's surreal. It wasn't violent, said Starr. He said, quote unquote, I'm assuming Karmelo said, he put his hands on me. And then he was hysterical when he was saying this when Karmelo was saying this to Starr. Starr says Starr got really upset, walked away and threw his hat on the ground. He then went over to Austin Metcalf and put his hand on his leg as the coaches were praying. Starr said he then went to Hunter Metcalf, who was hysterical, and he prayed with him, adding that at that point, it rained hard for a minute. And he knew right then that Austin Metcalf was gone. Austin Metcalf's father, Jeff Metcalf, sat in the courtroom wiping away tears. The prosecution passed the witness to the defense. That's terrible. Yeah, it started raining hard. Like the rain picked up for a minute. And that's when he knew that was the moment that Austin Metcalf lost his life. That's terrible. I'm sure there wasn't a dry eye except for Karmelo, because apparently he's been very stoic in there. But I'm sure there wasn't a dry eye in the house, in that courtroom, hearing that information. Especially with the 911 call audio, too. It's pretty heavy. But moving on, prosecution asks questions to the track coach as well. So they told Rob Starr told the prosecution it was not normal for students to walk under or around during downtime, and talk to other students while at track meets. So it was not normal for what Karmelo Anthony ended up doing, like walking around, going underneath that tent on an opposing team, and trying to chop it up with people under the tent. Apparently, that's not what you do. Okay? But moving on. Starr said, although it happens, his policy is That's not acceptable. And he believes other Frisco coaches feel the same way. Questioned about kicking Austin off the track team, Starr said he wanted to teach him a lesson. I mean, you left early, so I get it. I get him wanting to teach him a lesson, right? That has nothing to do with what happened to. That has nothing to do with what happened to Austin Metcalf. What he did in the past, what Austin Metcalf did going fishing, you know. But anyway, Memorial High School athletic trainer takes the stand. So Tiffany Whitaker, another person, another trainer, okay, at Memorial High School, is the next witness on the stand. She spends a lot of time with the athletes and knew Austin and Hunter Metcalf. She referred to the tents at the track meet as a locker room or as locker rooms, stressing the importance of staying in your tent. Whitaker said it is normal to say hello to someone in another tent, but not to plant yourself there. And you just heard from Cody Thomas, from Court TV. He literally was like, yeah, people will come by, they'll wave at each other, say, what up, doe, but you're saying it in passing. You're not sticking around being like, oh, so tell me about your day. Oh, stop. You know what I mean? You're not doing that. You're moving the F on, right? So she apparently recalls efforts to save Austin Metcalf. So Memorial High School athletic trainer Tiffany Whitaker said on the witness stand on Thursday afternoon that when screaming started around 10 a.m. on that fateful day, she moved on to the track looking to see what was going on. She asked a student what was going on, and the student indicated that Karmelo Anthony stabbed Austin Metcalf and tossed a knife. Whitaker said she stopped Karmelo and had a brief interaction, then went to Austin, although at the time she didn't know it was him. The student trainer thought he was having a seizure. So Tiffany Whitaker said she went to his head and helped with elevating him, and a coach said he could feel a pulse. Whitaker said she noticed Metcalf was blue. She started rescue breaths. Another coach did chest compressions until an AED arrived. However, that didn't help. They started CPR until paramedics arrived. She says, I'm kind of in autopilot, she said. They stopped treatment when paramedics arrived. The prosecution passed the witness to defense. During questioning by defense, Whitaker said that when she saw Anthony, he was running and people were chasing him. So let's see. Another witness goes up. Okay. Vincent Hooper, and he is currently the head football coach at Heritage High School and is the head track coach up until this year. So Hooper was also asked about the tents and said it's not unusual for students to walk to other tents to say hi. He also testified that he saw kids scattering and was told there had been a stabbing. He said Memorial High School athletic trainer Tiffany Whitaker handed Anthony to him and said, don't let him leave. So he put his hands around Anthony's shoulder. They walked around the track and he asked Anthony what he did. He said, he put his hands on me. I stabbed him, said Hooper. With tears on the witness stand, Hooper said he told Anthony that if Metcalf does pass away, it could change the rest of his life. At that point, Hooper said that Anthony started crying and he tried to comfort him. Hooper and Anthony's emotions, or Hooper said Anthony's emotions seemed genuine, and he handed him off to the Centennial High School coach. The defense also questioned Hooper, who again said he felt Anthony's emotions were genuine, saying that Karmelo Anthony didn't try to run from him. I don't think he thought he stabbed him in the spot he stabbed him in. This is what Hooper said. Now, the jury also heard 911 calls, all right? of this track meet stabbing. So next, the prosecution called Joshua Redman, the Liberty defensive coordinator, to the stand. Redman was at the meet, he said. All of a sudden, there was just panic and scatter. He said he saw Austin Metcalf, got him on the ground, put pressure on the wound, and asked a coach to call 911. At the time, it was a pretty good sized wound in his abdomen, he said. I was trying to push his brother to the side. He testified that it felt like 10 minutes had gone by before paramedics actually arrived, and that's when he knew that Metcalf was gone. He also said he talked to detectives and went back to the high school to talk with other coaches, adding that he couldn't believe what happened. The prosecution then played the 911 calls as the Metcalf family wiped away tears. Emotional testimony marks. Okay. So let me see. Hold on. Let's go. Let's see. This is all new stuff, if I'm correct. Okay. Let's go here. Because they were saying, like, he was very stoic. Like, when they were playing the 911 calls, Karmelo Anthony just sat there kind of stoic. Let's see. Going over to Daily Mail to see what they're saying here, too. Okay, Austin Metcalf's final words, after he was stabbed. So in this, opening statements, they said that the babyface teen used a folding knife. So it was indeed a knife that he used to stab Austin Metcalf at the time of their dispute. So Metcalf lifted up his shirt once he realized he had been knifed, and he exclaimed, "I've been stabbed," before stumbling down several rows of bleachers. Interesting. So they say that his brother Hunter rushed to his aid as Anthony ran from the scene and later tried to blend into a group of kids who were fleeing from the actual stadium. If you're scared and running away in self-defense, why toss the knife? The prosecutor said. That knife wasn't used to protect him from harm. That knife was used to harm another. Find this man guilty of first-degree murder, he continued, pointing at Anthony. So they react. The judge enacts strict courtroom rules, which we already know about that. Let's go over to the, let's see. Karmelo Anthony remains unresponsive to the knife shown in court. Here it is, guys. So, knife was indeed used. It was not a cleat sharpener or some BS like that, and everyone needs to put that down. Okay? Let that rest. Bury it in the ground. Okay? It is a folding knife that he had in his hands, not a cleat sharpener. He had a mother-loving knife. Okay? Just so you know. Hear ye, hear ye. Karmelo Anthony had a knife, not a cleat sharpener. Are we good now? Hopefully we're good. All right. So, Frisco police officer Jacob Shawls was among the officers who responded to this to the stadium on the afternoon that Austin Metcalf lost his life. He testified that he was involved in locating Anthony's folding knife, which was found 6 rows north of the Memorial High School tent. Anthony's blue Centennial High School backpack was also recovered at the scene. Photographs shown to jurors depicted a knife with a black blade and a silver handle. A knife. Moving on. Blood could be seen running down the weapon, which investigators suggested may have been affected by the rain falling that afternoon, because he only got stuck once. But at the same time, that's insane. All right. Prosecutors later displayed the knife itself in court. Karmelo Anthony remained motionless, staring straight ahead as the evidence was presented to the jury. Hunter and Austin Metcalf, just so you know. So, police body cam footage showed Austin Metcalf's twin brother, Hunter, pleading for help after the actual attack. So Hunter shouted, "Oh my God, he's my best friend. He's my brother." He became hysterical as he begged for help and cried out, "I can't do this." At one point, he grew incoherent and seemed to be praying out loud. As the footage was played in court on Friday, Karmelo Anthony sat motionless. Hunter was not in the room, not in the courtroom at that time. He's not going to be in the courtroom because he is obviously testifying. He's a witness, so he will be testifying. Okay? Let us go. Okay, day 2. Testimony of day 2 begins. So Frisco firefighter details finding Metcalf unresponsive. As the second day of testimony in the trial of Karmelo Anthony began today, the prosecution wasted no time in calling its first witness, a firefighter with the Frisco Fire Department. Neil Adams said his crew responded to the stadium after being notified of the actual stabbing. He shared graphic details of finding the victim, Austin, as the prosecution showed photos of the scene. Adams said Austin, his pupils were fixed and dilated. He was gray, no respirations. He did not have a pulse. During his testimony, Metcalf's dad put his head in his own lap. During his testimony, Metcalf's dad put his head in his own lap. That's weird. How do you put your head in your own lap? Sorry, that's a weird typo. Isn't that weird? Okay. As Metcalf's mother wiped away tears. That seems a little weird, right? Metcalf's dad put his head in his own lap. You must be one flexible mother lover. That's one flexible mother lover. How do you put your head in your own lap? Okay, that's weird. Okay, but apparently maybe he just put his head down. How about that? Maybe that's what it was. That's so weird. But moving on. So we got a Frisco police officer who testified about the comments, Karmelo Anthony's comments after his arrest. He says, "I'm not alleged. I did it. This is big." Like I said, how do you put your head in your own lap? You know what I mean? Like he trying to do like he trying to do something to himself. That's a weird typo, baby. Like, you know what I'm saying? You can't give you know what I'm saying? You know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay? He just put his head down. Okay? But that was weird. Okay? Who can do that? Pete Cooper, you can do that? I'm impressed. All right? How many you got a whole bunch of ribs removed? I don't know. Moving on though. Okay? The next witness called by the prosecution on Friday was Frisco police officer Cortez. So, a school resource officer, okay? And reportedly the first officer to make contact with Karmelo. He said he received a call concerning the stabbing as he was working inside a nearby school. When he arrived at the scene, he saw the crowd under the memorial track tent and saw Karmelo. I had the suspect raise his hands in the air. I gave him instructions. I patted him down for any weapons. I advised that I had the alleged suspect detained in handcuffs. Then he told the jury that Karmelo responded like this. I am not alleged. I did it. The prosecution then asked Cortez if Karmelo said anything else. When we placed him in the squad car, he asked if he would be okay. He also asked, or he was asked, if Anthony had any noticeable injuries. There was a little blood on his left middle finger. Okay. Because you remember, there's been accounts and reports of him being attacked by multiple people and that he walked away with some sort of injuries. And he's saying he didn't see any injuries on him except for, a few cuts on, like a cut on his finger, on his left middle finger. Okay. Prosecutors asked the officer about the policy on whether weapons are allowed on school property. He says they are prohibited, Cortez replied. Then the prosecution had a 4-minute body camera video played of when Cortez encountered Karmelo, placed him in handcuffs and sat him down before searching his person. In the actual video, Karmelo can be heard crying and saying, as the officer walks him to the car, I told him not to put his hands on me. He is then put in the patrol car and gives the officer his name and spelling. During cross-examination, the defense asked Cortez, when you go back to the car and then open the door, do you remember him crying once you and the officer are in the squad car? Did I see tears coming down his face? I can't testify to that because I didn't see his face. My description was based on the tone of his voice. This is what Cortez replied, because I think Cortez was busy driving the car, right? So maybe that's why he didn't see his face, right? He was busy 10 and 2 driving down the road. The defense asked questions concerning Anthony's compliance with officers. He's not resisting, not struggling, not continuing to run. Cortez answered no to all of them. So he complied. He didn't sit there and go, man, I got to get out of here, man. He didn't do any of that. He didn't try to kick rocks. He didn't try to run away from the cops. He didn't do any of that. He just said, all right, hands up, take me in. Will I be okay? Yeah, sure, son. You're going to be just fine. You're going to be just fine. I'm not alleged. I did it. I told him not to put his hands on me, and he put his hands on me. So I stabbed him. Am I going to be okay, though? So maybe from the very beginning, he believed that what he was doing was defending himself, that it was self-defense. That's what he believes in his own mind. I know some were questioning, was he making that up? Was he coming up with that kind of stuff as he was running away? Maybe I can make this up. But he was saying that stuff to the other coaches before he actually was arrested. So, Frisco police officer found murder weapon, testifies. So a second officer was called to the stand. Frisco police officer Jacob Shawls. He also responded to the scene of this stabbing of Metcalf and found the knife allegedly used in the crime, approximately 3 or 4 rows up above the actual crime scene. This is what he said when asked about where he found the actual weapon. He also found Karmelo Anthony's backpack. He shared that he protected the evidence and covered it up due to the rain. So the jury was then shown a photo of the knife, which appeared to be a 5-inch folding knife with blood on it, as it lay on the ground in the bleachers of the stadium. A photo of Anthony's backpack open was shown. Both items have been entered into evidence by prosecution. Let's see. There's got to be more. Yes, there is. Okay, hold on. That's this, and this is what we have here. And we're going to go to other updates, and we do have an update from Court TV as well. Shout out to Court TV and their amazing work. Okay? Shout out to the amazing Court TV and Law and Crime. What's crazy is that they've just a random piece of information for all you true crime heads out there. Apparently, Court TV and Law and Crime have merged. They are all like under the same business, under the same entity, which is very interesting. So you're going to be seeing a lot of Court TV and Law and Crime, names cross cross, you know what I mean, do kind of like collaborations and stuff. So get ready for that. Don't be surprised if you see, like I said, we saw Cody Thomas on Law and Crime. He works for Court TV. So now they are all, they are all in this. They are all the same now. Yep. They are all together. It has become a monopoly, if you can even say that. I don't know. But anyway, moving on. So after finding the backpack and the knife, okay, so Metcalf's parents break down as jurors watch body cam video of paramedics trying to save their son. That's tough too. Next, the prosecution played the body camera footage showing paramedics using CPR to try and save Metcalf's life. Metcalf is seen in his athletic wear, lying on the ground and unresponsive. In the video, students can be heard wailing. As the video played, Metcalf's mother and father were wrapped in the arms of family members as they broke down in tears. Anthony watched the video intently along with the actual jurors. Obviously, he's not very emotional. He may be just like, I can't believe any of this ish is happening right now. He this could be super surreal for him. And anything's possible. Anything is possible. Ooh, we got a 17-year-old witness called to the stand. Uh-oh. We're going to get to that here in a second. Let's take a look at that here. So we're going to get to the 17-year-old witness here in just a minute. I think a moment that we've all been waiting for, but hold on. Trial resumes after lunch. And like I said, we're going to hop over to Court TV in just a little bit. I'm going to get to that after we read this, okay? So of course, court resumed, okay? Shawls returns to the stand. So, blah, blah, blah. Okay, both sides were then asked to approach the bench, okay? The media liaison during, okay, so this is from reports of that. Once the jury had returned into the courtroom, Officer Shawls returned to the stand. The prosecution asked several quick questions, then passed the witness. The defense asked several questions regarding the knife used in the stabbing and the blue tarp that was used to preserve evidence at the crime scene as the rain intensified. State calls Stephanie Martin, a criminalist with Frisco PD, to the stand. So the prosecution called Stephanie Martin, which we already know who she is and what she does. She testified that she was with the Garland Police Department prior to moving to Frisco. Martin said that she was called out on April 2nd, the day of this situation, to process the actual crime scene. The jury was shown still images of the tents and stands at the stadium on the courtroom monitors. She testified that she collected the pocket knife, clothing, and backpack from the scene. Additional photos were shown to the jury depicting Mr. Metcalf's shoe, a black New Balance sneaker, a blue tarp spread out on the bleachers being held down by Anthony's backpack, a pocket knife with an approximately 3.5-inch blade, and the contents of Anthony's backpack, including snacks, a hair pick, cords, and a necklace. Hold on. Is there more? Okay, I was about to say, there's got to be more than this. Okay, a photo of a gray sweatshirt with the words "Essentials, Fear of God," and a red stain were also shown in the court. After the state passed its witness, the defense was given the opportunity to cross-examine. Additional photos of the contents of Anthony's backpack were there then shown. The backpack appeared to contain snacks like Cheez-Its, charging cable, word puzzles titled Peppa Pig and Scooby-Doo. Interesting. A vocabulary assessment. A vocabulary assignment. Car keys, pens, Aquaphor, a comb, and an Ozark Trail hand warmer. The backpack also allegedly contained. The backpack also allegedly contained Anthony's backpack. What? What? Okay. What? A backpack within a backpack? All right, we're just going to go with it. So the backpack also allegedly contained Anthony's backpack, which was not pictured. That's what they wrote. I'm just going with it. Okay. So witness was called to the stand. But before we go into that, we have got to hear what Court TV had to say about during their actual like lunch break. You have Cody Thomas back in the conversation. So let us take a look at this right here. Wait, hold on. I hate when they do this. Come on.
Good afternoon. Yeah, day 2 off to a emotional start this morning. We had a first responder as the first witness on the stand, 3 witnesses so far, first responder and 2 officers. The first responder was a firefighter and paramedic that pretty much testified to the severity of the wounds once he arrived to Austin Metcalf's body, and just talked about the intense life-saving efforts they went through trying to revive him, to which, of course, to no avail. But they talked about, attaching a machine to his chest to read a pulse, and he had no pulse. They said it was flatline. There was an acronym he used, a medical term, and the prosecutor asked for, simplicity for the lay people in the gallery, and he just said, yeah, he had no pulse. He was pretty much dead in a cardiac sense. They loaded him up into the back of the ambulance, to which, he eventually did not regain consciousness. But then we went on to see more from officers, and they were testifying about their response to the situation that day. One was a school resource officer. He was actually the one that made contact with Karmelo Anthony and the one who detained him. But he talked about the commotion when he ran out there to the scene, all the kids running to him saying, someone's been stabbed, and they pointed towards Karmelo's direction. And so you see on the body cam when he finally approaches Karmelo, and Karmelo seemed to cooperate. He was being very cooperative. He was being compliant. He didn't try to run away. But the key thing about this testimony here on the body cam, you hear Karmelo say to the officer, he put his hands on me, I told him not to. And when he says that phrase, he clearly he's crying hysterically. You can hear him sobbing in a very emotional state, but the prosecution's harping on that last half of that statement, the I told him not to part, because the prosecution says that's simply a lie. We've heard that phrasing, he told him not to put his hands on me, or put your hands on me and see what happens. That's the narrative that the prosecution's running with, and that eventually led Karmelo to stab Austin Metcalf. But there was another officer whose body cam was played during this officer's testimony, where you heard the officer say, we have the alleged suspect, and then you clearly hear Karmelo say out loud, I'm not alleged, I did it. So kind of damaging to the defense's case here. But then we just heard from an officer who arrived who did not partake in any life-saving efforts for Austin Metcalf's body, more of scene patrol, scene security is what he was saying, and evidence control. He was the one securing off the scene there, and he actually showed, or we saw pictures of the knife. It was a 5-inch blade. The first time the jury actually saw that knife in person, they did a demonstrative effort in front of this jury where they showed that the blade could be swung out really quick with just the stroke of a thumb. You could open it really quickly with one hand. But the impactful part of that testimony is that we saw the body cam from this officer, where you actually see Austin Metcalf's pretty much a lifeless body, everyone trying to give him chest compressions, but you see the body on screen, and that obviously brought out a visceral, emotional reaction from the Metcalf family. Plenty of tears and sobbing and consoling. And I looked towards Karmelo Anthony's side, and it was pretty stoic. There was a pretty, a lack of emotion there, not necessarily in a negative sense, but just really take evidence here, all the facts of this case as the prosecution presents it thus far. That's the latest right now. I'll send it back to you.
Thanks to Cody Thomas for that report there in McKinney, Texas. Let's bring in our guests who are standing by to talk about this evidence, this new evidence that the jury has seen inside of that courtroom. We have with us trial attorneys Lateef Gray and Al Wunsch III. Thank you both for being here to talk about this case that has so many people talking online. They are paying attention to the details, even though we don't have cameras inside, but the details that are coming out, everyone has an opinion on them. And I'm glad I can get your legal expertise on these. Al, let me start with you. the jury seeing the knife for the first time today, how important is the weapon, the size of the weapon? Does it matter, especially when this is a knife that obviously was able to kill someone?
No, I mean, it's always a key part of any prosecution case to have the weapon. So when you have the weapon there and you can show that, and it dispels any, false rumors that it was a stake or something that was used for the sporting event that was going on. This is a knife. This is a knife that is a dangerous knife. And this is a knife that should not have been at a sporting event for a high school team. Perfect. Right there.
Weigh in as well about that knife. What did you think about hearing that it's a 5-inch blade, that it was folded out at the point that the officers were able to preserve it? Talk about that part of it and whether or not that makes a difference when it comes to this case being self-defense or murder.
Well, I think it does make a difference in the fact that you have a 5-inch switchblade. This is not what we would consider a utility knife, which a lot of people keep with them, that has a little blade, a bottle opener, things like that. So the big question is, what was this young man doing at this track event with this type of knife that it seems like he brought it maybe for his particular purpose? So that's the big question as to what he was doing with this type of knife, which is not what we usually see people walk around with on a daily basis.
Yeah, we keep hearing that question. Why did he have the knife? Now, there was something that came out today, Al, where on cross-examination, one of the witnesses did confirm that having the knife is not a crime, but they don't mean at the school, obviously, because there is a specific rule for that school ground. Can you help people understand the difference and whether or not those school regulations matter in a court of law, in a murder trial?
Well, I mean, it is something that no weapons are supposed to be brought into the schools. Schools have a zero tolerance of any type of, they have a zero tolerance for having a pretend gun. You can't even bring a water pistol in some instances if it looks like a real weapon. So that is a zero tolerance policy. Okay, having the possession of the knife is not a criminal offense in and of itself. That's correct, okay? But it's a school event. He's a student. He's there. He's got a knife, 5-inch switchblade, which, I mean, we all agree is not the type of thing you would need under any circumstances at a sporting event. And he used the knife. So, whether or not it's legal to have it, it doesn't matter. Okay, it shouldn't have been there, and it shouldn't have been used, and it shouldn't have taken the life of that, poor 17-year-old kid.
Oh, yeah. This question of whether or not you're allowed to have it and whether or not that matters in a criminal trial reminds me of a case that I was inside of the courtroom for in Florida against Curtis Reeves, who was a retired police officer at a movie theater. There were signs on the movie theater doors that said, "This is a no weapon zone." He had his weapon. He fired it in self-defense. A jury did acquit him of murder and killed another man who only had popcorn in his hand. But it did come up inside of the courtroom as to whether or not he saw the signs, whether he knew he should have it, or as a retired officer, is he allowed to carry the gun all the time? Lateef, is that, in your opinion, going to be weighing on the minds of the jury about where should this knife have been? Where was it permitted to have been? Or again, does it matter at all because this knife was used in a way that killed someone?
Well, I will say
I'm
this.
sure that's something that...
All right, let me let Lateef weigh in, Al, and then I'll let you react to it.
All right.
I'm sure that's something that the jury will consider, but I think we all know law trumps policy. So if it's not against the law, like I said, it's something that the jury will consider, but I don't think that will carry the day for either side at the end of the day.
Al, what do you think? Law trumps policy?
Yeah, law does trump policy, except that, and let's keep this in mind. This isn't Florida. Okay, that was the most ridiculous verdict I've ever heard in my life that happened with regards to a guy who throws a couple of, assault and buttery, I called it, and he ends up losing his life in a movie theater. All right, this is Texas. I am confident that they're going to be a lot smarter jury, and they're going to be looking at it facts-wise as to what was going on, as opposed to some ridiculous verdict out of Florida.
Let's look at what the school resource officer on the stand today. This was, of course, a big moment. This is someone who would have arrived right after. And here are some of Cody Thomas's notes from inside watching that testimony. This witness, Eduardo Cortez, he was a school resource officer. He described the arrest of Karmelo Anthony. He said an adult pointed out the suspect and said, "That's the guy. I called him towards me. I patted him down. I had him raise his arms and ordered him to walk with me along that fence line. He obeyed me. He didn't try to run away. I turned on my body-worn camera, had him place his hands behind his back, and had him detained. The thing that most shocked me was that a student brought a knife to a track meet, and this witness agrees that that alone was unprecedented. Then on cross-examination, this witness agrees that Karmelo Anthony was emotional, said the knife is under 5 inches, actually, not prohibited. It's not illegal, not a crime. So that's what I was mentioning there. This witness speaking about it that way. But that body camera footage, Lateef, it was played inside of the courtroom today. That is always really important for jurors to see as much as they can. And here, they get to see the body camera not of days later when police catch someone, but right after it happens, this school resource officer is on the scene.
Right, and the body-worn camera presumably captures some spontaneous statements, excited utterances made by Mr. Anthony in the moment of the event while it's still on his mind and heavy on his heart. So oftentimes these body-worn cameras, which capture the aftermath of the incident, are best evidence because they capture things that are said and things that are done before anybody has time to consult with an attorney and develop a defense to what the particular charges are.
Al, what do you think about the weight of that body camera? Because I do want to add some of the notes that we're getting from the courtroom that you can hear on it. A handful of crying students. One child yells out, "That's my best friend, that's my brother," while crying and trying to come at Karmelo Anthony is our understanding of that moment. I mean, there's so much sobbing when it comes to these children and the trauma that they're going through, and you're also hearing that sobbing in the courtroom. And this is something that is very compelling evidence, I would think, for these jurors.
Absolutely, but you know what I didn't hear? They were trying to kill me. I was feared for my life.
Oh.
I had nothing I could do. I had to do this to be able to get out of there because they were going to take my life. They were going to kill me. They were going to beat me to a pulp.
Oh. He's got a point there. I will say that. He didn't say any of that. He didn't say that until after the fact. He didn't say that until he was actually detained in handcuffs, and then he said, "Hey, he was asking questions about, at least in the police reports, he was actually asking questions about his him getting, like him defending himself, him saying it's self-defense. You know what I mean? But that's very interesting. He's got a point. He didn't say that. But he did say, "Hey, I told him not to touch me. I told him not to touch me." So you know what I mean? So it's interesting. It's interesting. But he does have a point there. That's very fascinating.
I didn't hear any of that. So the self-defense argument starts to kind of fade a little because that's at the moment.
I mean, a little, but not a lot. But at the same time, I mean, it'll be up to the jury, and it'll be up to the prosecution to bring that up, by the way. You see what I'm saying? It'll be up to the prosecution to actually point that out. We're hearing it from, no disrespect to this lawyer here, but we're hearing it from a lawyer on court TV. Is that actually what the prosecution's saying in the courthouse? You see what I'm saying? In that courtroom. I think that would be a very big piece if they're actually saying that in the courtroom, right? But if they don't present that and actually show that piece, that argument to the jury, then the jury is just going to listen to what they're hearing in these 911 calls, these body cams, and from the witnesses that are taking the stand right now. You see what I'm saying? Becca, that's a good question. Will he actually take the stand? I don't know. He may, but he may not, because it sounds like he's not going to. Sounds like the defense is like, we don't want you to, but I think it would be good on his part to take the stand. But it could, like I said, any person that ends up taking the stand, remember what's his name? Why am I forgetting his name? Because I got Metcalf in my head. Murdaugh. Alec Murdaugh, Paul, Maggie. He destroyed himself by taking the stand. So Karmelo taking the stand could either be a big move, could help him win the case, or could absolutely destroy him. So it is literally a coin toss if he actually takes the stand. I don't know if he should. Okay. But it is interesting that he did not say, hey, they said that they're going to kill me, or I felt like they were going to kill me, or, you know what I mean? They were, you know, he didn't say any of that. That is true, though. That is true. Okay. We're just talking about facts. Okay.
When he's confronted by this officer and has the chance to say, listen, I did this because I had to. If I didn't, I would not have been able to get out of that tent. They were trying to beat me up. They were trying to do something to me. They were trying to kill me. You don't hear that. So I think that's going to be very important with regards to the prosecution's case. And of course, you hear those other cries going in the background. I mean, that's just an emotional aspect of it that just shows you just how horrific this crime is.
Yeah.
It's a terrible thing. And I mean, I feel terrible for both individuals, honestly. I hate to see that this you know, Mr. Anthony has ruined his life with this ridiculousness of bringing on a knife to attract me, and you know, going into the opposite field, the opposing team's, you know, domain. And why?
We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that, Al. We have a lot we're going to get to this hour.
Okay, and of course we're going to come back to that in just a little bit. You know, we might resort back to that just to give myself a little bit of a break from talking so much. But you know, because we're reading a whole bunch of updates and all that, right? So we may come back to that in just a little bit. But of course, we want to look at the testimony from other people. But let me read this really quick. Brittany Morgan, thank you so much for the comment. And there's some other footage that we need to take a look at as well, which, because there is chaos going on outside of the courthouse. So I don't want y'all thinking like, oh, damn, look at that. This is clickbait. No, this ain't clickbait. There is chaos going on outside of the courthouse as we speak, okay? So Brittany Morgan, thank you so much for love. This is my hometown, and people are literally going crazy. We've never had something like this here, so I feel like they're going to go hard on this one. Yeah, they're going to go in hard. Yeah, they're going to go in hard on that one. Absolutely. Absolutely. People are literally going crazy, and the pettiness has erupted for sure too. Okay. You know, it's getting bad out here. For sure. Give me a second, guys. I want to pull up a few things here so we can take a look at a few things here. So just 1 second, everybody. Hold on. Oops. So yeah, there's a lot going on, baby. There's a whole lot of shaking going on, okay? A few things. So let me grab these here before we go into more. Please, guys, do me a favor. Hit that like button down below, please, and thank you. If you appreciate the coverage, you appreciate what I'm doing, that'd be greatly appreciated. Yeah, damn clickbait. No, there's real chaos going on. There's some stuff going on for real. Okay. Now, you know, so please hit that like button down below. Crush that like button, please, and thank you. All right. I'm giving you guys live updates as we speak. All right. So please hit that like button down below. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Subscribe. I can't emphasize that enough. Subscribe. Okay. And hit that notification bell so you know whenever I go live, whenever I upload. And of course, go and check out my second channel, The Pascal Show Clips, because there's going to be clips from this show that are going to be put onto that second channel. And there's a lot of things I know that you can't, you know, like you're not able to watch the whole live. So you're going to, you know, you'll get bits and pieces of it over on the second channel. Okay. So please do so. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell over there, and set it to all as well. But there are more things going on. All right. There's a lot going on. There's people outside covering a lot of what's going on outside of the courthouse, because as crazy and as controversial it is inside the courthouse, it's even worse outside. All right. And people are putting in their 2 cents. Now, I don't know Savannah Hernandez, no disrespect to her or anything of that sort, but she is with, she is reporting alongside this channel called The Front Lines, powered by TPUSA. I just want to point that out really quick, okay? Just so you know what we're listening to. All right. I asked the Karmelo Anthony supporter if the Black community would accept the evidence if it shows that Karmelo was not acting in self-defense. This particular woman that we're going to be hearing her say something, apparently she said that no matter what, we gonna stands with ours regardless. We gonna stands with ours regardless. Okay. And asked Austin Metcalf's role in the actual attack. Let's take a look at this video. Okay. I've never seen this video before, but there are people out here with opinions. Okay. Let's take a listen.
If evidence does come out that Karmelo was not in fact fighting for his life when he stabbed and killed Austin Metcalf, do you think that the Black community will accept that?
If evidence shows that he did not, no, we're going to stand by ours regardless. They stand by theirs. We're going to stand by ours regardless. I'm a mother first. I'm a Black mother. Let me put that on there. I'm an African-American mother. So I have to put away my color first and step into the motherhood. Nobody wants to see their child slain. So I do want to send prayers to Austin Metcalf, their family. But at the end of the day, I got to think like, okay, what did you do to him or whatever to cause this to happen, the reaction? We got to start taking accountability for our kids. Because then again, if my kid, that's why it's a catch-22, if my kid was Karmelo and I feel like his back was up against the wall, well, I'm going to tell you straight up, better mine than yours. Better mine than yours. So either way it go, everybody loses. A Black boy allegedly murdered, and I say allegedly, heavy on the allegedly murdered somebody. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, this is about race. Because if the shoe was on the other foot, they wouldn't give a damn.
Who wouldn't give a damn?
Let me say this. Let's say the community.
So like if Karmelo Anthony was the one stabbed and killed by Austin.
I also want to remind you, this is also the woman that was having altercations with Jake Lang and his dumbass and a bunch of other people, other white people that were there too. Okay. I'm just, if you don't know who Jake Lang is, if you ain't savvy to that, then you just need to go check that out. just type it in on X, Twitter. You'll be able to find out exactly who Jake Lang is. Okay. He's a piece of work and he has a lot of interesting people around him as well. Okay. But let's continue on.
They wouldn't give a damn.
I come out here.
Oh, here we go. That's the guy from yesterday? Why is it QAnon shaman? Why is it giving? It's giving QAnon shaman what he did yesterday. That whole thing. That the guy with the horn, with the Christian horn. Let's not forget the Christian horn. Okay? Let's if that's even what it is. Let's continue.
Every Thursday, and we pray for people going to court because we know this is the final frontier of racism, and it's legalized here.
It was announced yesterday that there's no Black jurors that were chosen. What are your thoughts on that?
That's why we need God. That's why we need God, and that's why he's going to show who's in control.
And would you be open to giving us your personal insights into the Karmelo Anthony trial and what your thoughts are on it?
I just want justice done. We know nobody go to a track meet to murder anybody, okay? Come on. That's an accident, self-defense, that's what it was. I'm not saying the kid should get off free, but first-degree murder? Come on. Basically, he's facing the wrong charge for the crime that was committed.
Do you think Karmelo is innocent? Do you feel like it's been an unfair response to what happened to Karmelo Anthony?
I feel that the justice system always over-respond when it comes to us. So definitely, I mean, you look at the charge. It was self-defense. He was wrestling with two guys. I don't know what the parameters of it, but it was two people. So, 2 against 1, that's self-defense.
Okay. So there's that. Okay. Like I said, what say you? You guys think it's still, with the information that's been put out here so far, do you think it's still self-defense or no? Remember, just really quick, because this is from yesterday too. But I do need to share it. I don't know if you guys remember the altercation that was going on across the street. You had the racist white guy with the wheelchair with all his signs around him, like it was like a barrier, like a shield. And then you had the random white guy holding a flag and standing really strange, like just smiling and everything. Like, you know what I mean? He looked like he was a Bible salesman, but not. Okay, well, I haven't seen this yet, but he actually got interviewed, and it's fitting. Ain't it fitting that he's also drinking a white Monster? You don't find that a little bit strange and kind of ironic? So let's take a look at this. I've never seen this, by the way. Just showing to you guys real quick.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Why would you walk over here knowing that
it's the white? It's the white. Everything is white. You know what I'm saying? He got the white Monster. He got the white Monster. You know what I'm saying? Hold on, I gotta play it again. I'm sorry. That just throws me off all the time. I'm like, couldn't it have been green? You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? He's like, I only drink white Monster. You know? He probably just eats rice and clam chowder, milk, and rice. Did I say rice yet? I don't know. Just everything he eats is just white, including white Monster.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Why would you walk over here knowing that it can get hectic? I'm just asking.
I didn't know it was going to get hectic. I was just coming over to talk to some people over here that I thought were cool. It's public sidewalk, you know.
So it ain't no like you're aggravating no situation.
Yeah, I don't think I appeared to be trying to provoke anything. I just walked over here.
I was just wondering because I'm like, dang, they at your Nick. I was like, damn, what'd he come over here for? Maybe he said they came over to talk. Who you talking to?
But look, they already talked to our sisters in the fields. Why would we talk to him? So we
Right.
go to the same project. Did they talk to our ancestors?
You right, but
Don't nobody else talk.
okay.
Okay. So sorry, but I'm going to say this really quick. This guy right here, because he's all just smiles. The other one from yesterday was really creepy. All right, because he was across. And imagine if it was pitch black and he was just standing out there with a smile on his face, holding that flag, just smiling. You know what I'm saying? Like that'd be kind of creepy. I'm sorry. I'm just going to keep it a bean. All right. But what I find very strange is that he said, "Oh, I'm not here to try to antagonize any of these people. I just thought I saw some people over here that I thought might have been cool." In other words, he either went over there to just really start some ish, or he saw white people over there that are a part of that group and thought that he could go over there and talk to those white individuals across the street. You see what I'm saying? No, he's just trying to stir the pot. He wants something bad to happen so he can sit there and go, see what they're doing to me? You know what I mean? He's trying to instigate some BS for no reason. All right. The sinner's vibe. Hey, brother. Yeah, we just want to come in and enjoy some of that music. You know? How about you just let us in? We just want to go in and enjoy that music too. We love music. In fact, we're a band ourselves. I am the man of something sorrow. You know what I mean? It does give Sinners vibes. If you don't know what I'm talking about with Sinners, y'all need to go check out Sinners. Great movie. Great movie. But it's like, yeah, what you want? Yeah, how you doing, sir? We just love the music we're hearing from outside. We just want to come on in. And we love all kinfolk, don't we? Is it all right if we can come in? Will you invite us in? Yeah. We're a band ourselves. We love ourselves some music. Crazy. Gives us that vibe. That's giving me vibes. vibes. Okay, so we have got to get into some more, but there is something else. Hold on. Yeah, this is another thing, just real quick before we go into more of the transcripts that are coming out, or more updates that are coming in about this trial. This is coming from Eric Doherty. Very biased individual, I will say that. I'm sorry, but it is the truth. But he says now Karmelo Anthony's defense is falling apart, in all caps, in the murder trial of Austin Metcalf. He might face life in prison if convicted. Prosecutors in court showed jurors surveillance footage they say tells a different story than Anthony's defense. It reportedly shows a brief confrontation between Anthony and Metcalf, not a larger group, before Anthony runs from the scene and that fight. It only lasted about 4 minutes. Jurors heard emotional testimony from Metcalf's track coach. He said that Metcalf was helping lead setup efforts, that day, which basically means he was in charge of setting up the tent and equipment. The coach testified and said athletes don't just go under other teams' tents. This is something that is that's understood between athletes. The final jury does not include any black jurors. Prosecutors say this case has nothing to do with race, and it should be decided on the facts. This trial is expected to last up to 2 weeks. All right, so let's hear what this report says. Probably the same stuff I just said, but let's just hear it anyway.
Calling it unjustified murder. So Karmelo Anthony is charged with murdering 17-year-old Austin Metcalf after admitting to stabbing him in the chest at a high school track meet last year. Police say the fight started because Anthony was under another team's tent and Metcalf told him to leave. Anthony's defense attorneys say he stabbed Metcalf, who was unarmed, out of fear, as a group was, quote, turning on him. But prosecutors yesterday in court showed jurors surveillance footage they say tells a different story. The footage, it's grainy and shot from a distance, but reporters inside the courtroom tell us it shows a brief confrontation between Anthony and Metcalf, not a larger group, before Anthony runs from the scene. And that fight, it only lasted about 4 minutes or so. Jurors heard emotional testimony from Metcalf's track coach. He said that Metcalf was helping lead setup efforts that day, which basically means he was in charge of setting up the tent and equipment. The coach testified and said athletes don't just go under other teams' tents. This is something that's understood between the athletes. This case, it's drawn national attention, with race becoming a major issue. The final jury does not include any black jurors. Prosecutors say this case has nothing to do with race and it should be decided on the facts. This trial is expected to last up to 2 weeks, Bill, and if he is convicted, Anthony faces up to life in prison.
Yeah, which we already know. Okay. I was hoping that they were going to say something else kind of more, profound, but what we read is what we read and what has been seen. There is more. This is... Okay, so Sarah Fields is another person that has been doing a lot of reporting on this. She has been, on the side of that Karmelo Anthony should be locked up for life. This is just her perspective. So there is a bias here. She's not sitting on the fence and just waiting for the facts. But she is going like, hey, this young man deserves to be locked up. I'm just giving you a little bit of background information because she's been kind of dragged through the coals over this situation as well and all that. And this is her opinion. She's allowed to have her opinion, just like you're allowed to have your opinion, right? So I don't think she should be just thrown on the bus because of her opinions, but that's neither here nor there. Let's get into this. She says we're now on a lunch break, which was a few hours ago, obviously. She says a quick update. This morning we were shown body camera footage from multiple officers who responded to the scene. The footage showing Austin's lifeless body on the ground was devastating. We were also shown the knife. Blood was visible on the blade all the way up to the handle, to where the handle began. It has been extremely emotional, or it has been an extremely emotional morning in this in the courtroom, and then she says he's headed back now. So that is something that she posted, and of course she's still in there, and she's reporting from inside as well. Okay. There is something else though. Nika Knight did speak out.
From Collins County.
Now there's a little bit of this I want to share, not the whole thing, because we got to get going. We got to get this some updates moving. But we know who Nika Knight is. Okay, we're a big fan of her stuff here as well. She's been covering this, and she is over there. Hold on, let me just see something here really quick. Okay. Hopefully she gets to the nitty-gritty quickly. But she is giving information about seeing the footage from yesterday as well. This is from yesterday, if I'm correct. Okay. But let's take a look at what she has to say.
I was able to see Karmelo Anthony enter into the stadium. It showed the victim and his brother enter into the stadium. It showed the tents that they were under and so much more. They also did opening statements before we started to see any type of footage or any.
Hold on real quick. Hold on. Nurse for God, thank you so much for the love. I really do appreciate it. Still waiting from you about to hear from you about the new chair. Oh, yeah. I've been meaning to hit you back. I will definitely respond. I am very, very sorry. It has been a very busy time. Like I said, everything will make sense here very, very soon, but it has been a very nutty, it was a very nutty May, and it looks like it's going to be a very nutty June. So, yeah, definitely getting a new chair at some point. At some point. Oh my God. Seriously. I'm being dead serious. I can't even lean back on this chair because this thing is broken. I'm not kidding. Like, if you could see it, how can I show this to you? See, this whole thing is broken. So I can't even lean back. I have to lean forward, because if I do this whole thing, the whole back of this chair would snap. You see what I'm saying? So, Nurse for God, I appreciate you. Thank you. Yeah, I will be responding very, very soon. Okay, it's been a nutty couple months. Okay, got a few more weeks of nuttiness, and then it'll start to settle down. I'm looking forward to it. Okay, yeah, I need a new one. I've been dealing with this for several months. This crappy chair. I'm not sitting there going like, damn, I need it right now. I've been, you know what I mean? I've just been doing what I need to do to give you guys the news. Okay. So, okay, let us get into this. All right. Should I do a give, send, go and be like, my chair called me the N-word or something? I don't know. Never mind. Moving on. Let's hear what Nika Knight saw.
Anything like that. Opening statements was 20 minutes for each side. The defense took 20 minutes. The prosecution took 20 minutes. And when they gave their opening statements, there was a stark contrast on both sides. So first and foremost, the defense went up and the prosecution went up first, and his co-counsel did the opening statements where he painted Karmelo Anthony as a senseless murderer. You know, he said that Karmelo Anthony provoked the victim into putting his hands on him. So he's saying that, you know, the victim in a case, he provoked him because he didn't leave when they told him to. So basically, they told him to leave, and he didn't leave, and he told them that they better not touch him or whatever, or watch what happens if you touch me. That's provoking them to put their hands on him. So then once they put the hands on him, then he, used his weapon. He grabbed in his bag, used his weapon, and the whole incident happened in a matter of 4 minutes. So the victim and his brother entered into the tent 2 minutes prior to Karmelo Anthony entering in the tent. The defense said that he didn't enter the tent because he wasn't supposed to be there, as far as like the way that they're trying to shape it. But he entered into the tent because he recognized one of his friends. He went to say hello to one of his friends and he went to go sit down. As soon as he went to go sit down, it is being alleged that the twins came up to him and told him, "You got to go. You got to get up out of here." And he told them, no, he's not leaving. He's not getting up out of there at all. Now, that's what's happening on the inside of the courtroom. You guys know I took a lot of notes. I'm going to be giving you guys a very detailed breakdown. I tried to jot down as much as I can as far as what the prosecution and defense are saying and alleging. We're going to give the facts. Now, outside, there is protest on both sides happening right now. There are people here that are supporting Karmelo Anthony, and then there are people who don't appear to be a part of Austin's family, but rather serving a white supremacist agenda and trying to basically put fear in Black people. So you see them kind of like trying to Black, like, you know, looking all of us up and down, mad dogging us, trying to make their presence known. One guy's walking around with a Confederate flag, and it's like intimidation tactics that's trying to happen. I'm gonna pan the camera so you guys can kind of see what's going on. So I don't.
And mind you, this is from yesterday. Okay, this is from yesterday. So Nurse for God, thank you so much for the love. I really do appreciate the tip jar. Thank you. And Cookie, thank you so much for the super chat as well. Thank you so very, very much. I really do appreciate the love. Thank you so much for the support. But yes, so this is from yesterday, as you guys can see. You know, obviously things have picked up. Okay, things have definitely picked up. Thank you, Lori. I appreciate that. Thank you so very much. Thank you so much, Lori. I really do appreciate that. But I'm gonna skip ahead because we need to get into the updates from inside the courthouse. So hold on.
Into this a lot more in depth, in like a sheltered, enclosed tent. They were not under like a tent. They were under a canopy.
Thank you,
so
Serene.
If you guys know, like whenever, like say you go to a barbecue or you put up a canopy is open. So basically what was happening was there was a lot of rain. You saw in the video, you saw people in ponchos. You saw people with umbrellas. You saw kids that were like to the right of the tent. There was another tent to the left, and these tents are canopies. So a lot of people, like the prosecution basically said like, oh, you know, their tents are, you know, where they keep their belongings so that people don't steal. There's literally no way for a person to steal because the tent was full of people. There was kids all around. There was kids to the left, to the right, walking around. Like, who gonna steal when all of these eyes? It wasn't that type of setup at all. And they were only under the tent for 4 minutes total from introduction to seeing each other to the knife wound. Now, what the defense wanted to basically point out is this isn't something where he stabbed them multiple times. He didn't go and stab other people. He didn't try to, you know, do that. He defended himself and then he ran. So when he ran like out of the bleachers, and then you see him in the surveillance. He's like jumping down, running down the bleachers. And then as he runs down the bleachers, he runs to go run out. So when he runs out, like trying to run out of the field, there was kids that were chasing him from behind, and he ended up going up to one of the coaches. Now, as he's running out, there was a group of, it looked like Black kids that were coming in for the track meet. They all had on like what looked like uniforms. Karmelo Anthony, he had on a light gray hoodie and some blue sweats. So he walks out of the bleachers. And then when he walks out of the bleachers, he's looking around. He goes back, like, you know, I don't know if he was, you know, waiting on somebody. And then once he reemerges again, he goes past one tent. Now, one tent / canopy. He walks past and you can see it's packed, jam-packed with kids. They tried to make it seem like, oh, he didn't go to the first tent. He passed up a whole tent and went to the other one. The tent, when you look at it, or the canopy, it's full. Like, it's a bunch of kids huddled under trying not to get wet. He goes to the other tent that is more open. Like, it's like less people congregated, but it's a lot of them underneath that tent. And you see kids, like I said, on the outside, you see kids walking out with their ponchos. You see them walking past with their umbrellas. You see them with their hoodies on. And it's raining. You can see the rain coming down from the camera. So the videos that we're watching is surveillance from the school. And you can see the rain coming down from the surveillance as it's all happening. So they got a forensic analysis to come in. And basically what his job is to do is to look at the video, identify the suspect, which would be Karmelo Anthony, and the victim, which would be the brothers. And so he was supposed to like walk through, okay, when did Austin and his brother walk through? When did Karmelo walk through? And based on the video, they wanted to know, like, what was the resolution of the video? The video was a 4K video. It was a high resolution video. But what they explained to the jurors is that you can only get 4K video to come through a 4K TV. So the TVs in the courtroom are not 4K, but they said that they're going to bring a specialized 4K video, TV, so that they can watch the video in 4K.
Oh boy.
And so that they can see it better. So and another thing that
I'm gonna let her finish.
Another thing that the defense wanted to note was every single team had a tent except for Karmelo Anthony's school. So it was several schools there for the track meet, and all of the other schools had their canopy tents. The only school that did not have a tent was Karmelo Anthony's school. So even if it's not like his school had their tent and he went to the other people's tent. They didn't have a tent at all. He said the only thing that they had was a tarp. Okay. And so so he said, like, for whatever reason, he doesn't know why they didn't have a tent, but their school did not have a tent. Centennial High School did not have a tent. And so when he's walking around, he was waiting around, and he was there as a I think he's in varsity, and the track meet was for junior varsity, but he went to help out with the school. And so the defense also wanted to note that all of the individuals that are going to testify are kids that went to that school, and he wanted to point out that
we got some
all
stuff.
of them are friends of the victim. He said, once you're listening to testimony, you have to bear in mind that these are all friends and they are all going to the same school. The only person under the tent that did not go to that school was Karmelo Anthony. And he says the only reason why he went there is because he went to talk to a guy who he thought was his friend. Okay, that was the key words that his defense said. They said he went to talk to a guy who he thought was his friend.
So in other words, not another girl. This was a girlfriend's friend who happens to be a guy, it sounds like. And he realizes now that this guy is most definitely not his friend. Okay, I wonder why.
So it's going to be interesting to hear from all of these witnesses. They're all going to be teenagers who are going to be testifying. They have, like I said, the video analyst who does video analysis.
And we already know about that. So we're going to get into it because we do have some updates. We do have the teenager making their statements and whatnot. So there is a very, very big deal going on. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, because like I said, there's a lot of chaos going on. There's a lot of chaos going on in the outside of the courthouse and all that. And that continues to just keep rising. But we are going to get into that in just a little bit. But we got to get back into this courtroom and the testimony because there's some new updates. Hold on, actually, let me pull that over here. Thank you to True Crime Gal 81. I appreciate you sending me some of these updates as well. And we're going to get into that in just a minute. All right. But first, let's get into this because there's apparently a bombshell that just dropped. We're going to slow walk to that point. All right. So let's get into this. So the most important things that we've been waiting for are the witnesses that were around the situation, that were eyewitnesses that saw this altercation go down. We are finally there. Okay, we got a few updates. We got that. So we're going to get into those right now. As of 41 minutes ago, this is when this was actually posted. Okay, state calls a 17-year-old witness to the stand. Jury hears frantic 911 call. So they're not allowed to obviously identify minors. Okay, so they're just saying this is a 17-year-old witness that was taken to the stand. Okay, prosecution asked the 17-year-old if he likes to hold things in his hands. If he likes to hold things in his hands when he gets nervous. The 17-year-old was holding a football on the stand, which he showed to the jury. Okay, so the witness explained that he was in the class of 2027 and was preparing to start his senior year at Memorial High School. So this sounds like possibly a friend of Austin Metcalf, or at least, he was on the same track team. Okay, he said on the day of the actual attack, he was going to run the 800 meter. He left Memorial at 8 a.m. and went to Staley Fieldhouse with Austin and Hunter Metcalf and 2 other students. The 17-year-old named at least a half dozen individuals who were under the actual tent at that track meet. The witness testified that Anthony was also under the actual, Karmelo was actually underneath their tent wearing Centennial gear and standing with a student identified as Eddie. He said Anthony and Eddie dapped each other up, like fist bump. All right. Just for those who are like, dap, what does dap mean? Dap means just like a fist bump. Okay. Dapped each other up and started talking. So apparently it was a friend, a guy friend of his girlfriend. So it does make sense that he would be like, I thought he was a friend, but I guess he's not. Because maybe Eddie's into his girl. I don't know. You never know. But moving on. All right. So they dapped each other up and they started talking. He said the next thing he remembers is people confronting Anthony saying, you probably shouldn't be here. You need to leave our tent. The 17-year-old told the jury that several team members told Anthony he should not be there. He said Anthony was standing and everyone else was sitting. Okay. So he says Austin was standing and everyone else was sitting. He recalled the encounter being more aggressive, saying Anthony refused to leave and told Austin, touch me and find out. He described both Austin and Karmelo getting angry. Did anyone try to gang up, mob up on him to get him out of the tent? This is what prosecution asked. No, sir, the witness said. The witness also said the 17-year-old boy said that there was minor pushing at most and that it lasted about 2 minutes. He agreed that Austin took the lead in trying to get Karmelo Anthony out of the tent. He said he took touch me and find out as Karmelo Anthony trying to escalate the situation and provoke Austin into starting a fight, and that Austin Metcalf did not want to fight, but Karmelo refused to leave. Moving on. The 17-year-old also testified that Austin leaned in to push Karmelo Anthony and that Karmelo stabbed him. He said he saw the stabbing, but not the knife, and that the knife came from a backpack in Anthony's lap. According to the witness, Anthony had had his hands in the backpack, and everyone thought he was bluffing. Hold on. Let me just make this abundantly clear. So he walked over, he dapped up Eddie, and then he started talking to him. He said he was in there. He remembers him saying, to leave. Austin telling Karmelo to leave. He said Austin was standing and everyone else was sitting. Okay. I just want to make sure I got that abundantly clear. So he refused to leave. People thought he was bluffing with what he had in his backpack because he put his hand in his backpack, right? The witness said in the moments after the stabbing, Karmelo Anthony threw the knife and ran down the bleachers onto the track. Austin fell down the bleachers onto his back, then got up and leaned against the guardrail where he lifted his shirt. The witness said Austin's chest was bloody and that he looked scared. The witness agreed with the prosecution that Hunter was not involved in the incident and that no one ganged up on Karmelo Anthony. Oh boy. Unlike what we heard from other accounts, right? Interesting. So the 17-year-old is like, no one ganged up on Anthony. It was just him and Austin, and that's it. The 17-year-old said he pulled out his phone and called 911. The 911 call was then played for the jury, according to NBC's NBC reporter who is reporting from inside the courthouse. The call sounds frantic. The witness can be heard saying, "My friend just got stabbed. My friend is bleeding everywhere." Additional footage was shown of Anthony leaving the scene. The witness agreed that Karmelo ran quickly at first, then slowed, then resumed running, saying that Karmelo was, quote unquote, trying to be anywhere but where he was, and that he, quote unquote, created a problem. The witness testified that he does not think Austin deserved to be stuck like that, and that Anthony was the one provoking Austin. During cross-examination, the witness testified that he remembered Anthony Karmelo sitting outside the tent and that the coach had a rule that no other teams were allowed at the tent in general. So he walked over, he dapped up Eddie, he sat down, he was like, "Sup, man, blah, blah, blah." They're chopping it up. Then Austin, according to the 17-year-old, then Austin walks over to him and is like, "Hey, bro, you're not supposed to be here. You need to kick rocks." And then he's like, "I ain't going nowhere. What's wrong? I'm not doing anything. I'm just here visiting my friend. What's the big deal? Chill, bro, chill." And of course, everything escalated from there. Okay? So that's what we saw on that one. Another one. In fact, let me see about updates here from CBS. Let's see what they say. Witness on moment after he was stabbed, lifted his shirt, and was all bloody. So the witness then accounted what wait. Nope. Breakdown, blah, blah, blah. We already saw that they're wrapped up in family's arms as they're hearing the 911 call. Witness on the moment. Okay, he was stabbed. The witness, see, that's weird. They just kind of jumped to that. That's kind of terrible, but okay. Austin fell down the bleachers on his back and got up. He said he lifted up his shirt where it was all bloody and said, I got stabbed. The prosecutor then asked about Metcalf's shove of Anthony. I wouldn't say it was a light shove or a hard shove. I would say it was more of an in-between, the witness said. The witness also said that Metcalf's brother, Hunter, was not involved. In the defense opening statement, attorney Mike Howard said that both Metcalfs confronted Anthony and that Karmelo made a split-second decision out of fear. Very interesting. All right. Another teammate, or I guess the teammate, recounts what led up to the actual stabbing. So here's another breakdown of what was said. After the lunch break, the prosecution called a track athlete to the stand who witnessed the fatal encounter between his teammate Austin Metcalf and Karmelo Anthony. The judge prohibited the media from identifying the witness. That's fair because he's a minor. The witness said that by the time he arrived, Karmelo Anthony was already under the tent in the bleachers at the stadium. The witness recounted that he and other athletes, other Memorial High athletes under the tent, asked Karmelo Anthony to leave multiple times. At first, it was not aggressive, he said, but then tensions escalated. I remember Karmelo refusing to leave and Austin saying, "You need to leave." And Karmelo saying, "Touch me and find out," the witness said. The witness also denied that anyone was ganging up on Anthony and that Anthony was the one provoking the actual situation. The defense is arguing that Karmelo acted in self-defense. Austin leans in to push him and Karmelo stabs him. This is what one witness says. Karmelo had his hands inside a backpack, and we thought it was a bluff. They thought he was fronting. They thought he was lying. He said he and others didn't believe Karmelo would do anything because they live in a safe community. Witness recounts the shove. So on cross, Attorney Shook asked the witness to describe Metcalf and Anthony's movements leading up to the actual attack, to the actual stabbing, okay? The witness said Karmelo was seated with his backpack in his lap and had his hand inside of it. Metcalf approached Karmelo and then pushed him by placing both hands on Anthony's shoulders. Anthony then pulled out his knife from the backpack and pushed Metcalf back while stabbing him in the chest, the witness said. Have mercy. Okay, so that's what we have over there. So let us go over to this. We got a couple breakdowns here. And this is, it looks like live tweeting? Live tweets, maybe? Which is interesting. There's a reporter from Daily Mail, if I'm correct. Texas Bureau Chief for Daily Mail. So let's see what they're saying. So we are back in court for the afternoon session in Karmelo Anthony's trial. The judge has asked the media not to identify the upcoming witnesses, which we already know because they are minors. We are not told who the minors are or what they will be testifying to. Interesting. So 17-year-old Memorial High School male athlete now is testifying. We have been told not to give his name. He had been hanging out with Austin on the day of the stabbing. He also runs track for Memorial. He was under the tent with Austin Metcalf. Teen is saying several people confronted Karmelo. So people came up to him. I forgot to circle around that really quick. People went up to Karmelo multiple times, it sounds like. They all went up and yo, bro, I don't know why you're here, but you need to go somewhere else. Right? I need you to go somewhere else, bro. You're not allowed to be underneath this tent. This is our tent. You need to go somewhere else, right? So again, what state is this? This is Texas, guys. This is in the state of Texas, just so you guys know. Might be a little late to the party, but it's Texas, y'all. So again, allegedly from this eyewitness, they're saying that multiple people went up to him and said, "Hey, man, hey, Melo, you need to leave." Okay? So several people confronted Karmelo Anthony and told him to leave the tent. Austin, another boy, and he was among the Memorial High School kids who told Anthony to leave. So Austin, another kid, and the eyewitness were telling him, "Yo, you need to leave." The person who's testifying right now, you need to leave. He says, "I remember it getting more aggressive," the teen said. "I remember Karmelo refusing to leave. Then Austin asked him to leave. Karmelo said, 'Touch me and find out,'" the boy recalled. The boy says Karmelo was asked to leave about 15 times by Austin and several others. He says no one ganged up on him, and he didn't think a fight was going to break out. He thought there might, I think that's what she's saying. He thought there might be a minor pushing at most. Teen says this went on for 2 minutes and adds that both Austin and Karmelo were angry at this point. The boy says Karmelo was provoking Austin. Austin pushed Karmelo, and then Karmelo attacked him. He added that the knife came from a backpack in Karmelo's lap. During the back and forth between Karmelo and Austin, Karmelo had his hands in the backpack, the boy said. After the stabbing, Karmelo threw the knife up the bleachers and then ran away. Boy says he didn't expect the stabbing at all. Austin fell onto the bleachers, onto his back, and then got up and went against the fence and the guardrail with his chest all bloody. I think he said, "Oh my God," the boy said. The boy called the ambulance. At this point, prosecutors asked the boy how hard Austin pushed Karmelo. Boy said it was somewhere in between a light shove and a hard shove. Hunter was at the bottom of the tent and was not involved in this. That's interesting. Hunter was at the bottom of the tent and was not involved in this. Boy denies anyone ganged up on Karmelo, which is, of course, what they've been saying. They've been saying that Hunter was standing right next to Austin and saying, "Yo, man, you need to leave, Karmelo," right? Interesting. Moving on. "My friend's bleeding everywhere," the boy can be heard calling in a 911 call he placed. You can also hear lots of people shouting in the background and general chaos. Under cross-examination, the boy reveals that Karmelo Anthony wasn't even under the tent. He was sitting on the bleacher just above or north of the tent. So he wasn't technically under the tent? Interesting. What was the problem with that? Defense attorney asked the boy, since Anthony wasn't under the tent. "Relative area," the boy responds. He says they were told to keep kids from other schools away from the general area of their tent. Interesting. Boy testifies that the exchange went on for about 2 minutes. Anthony arriving at the tent and being asked to leave. When others asked Karmelo to leave and he refused, and Anthony became angry. Then both Austin and Karmelo became heated as the exchange went on. So here's the bombshell, according to this report. Under cross-examination, boy was asked to show how the shove happened between Karmelo and Austin. Boy and defense attorney stand up to role-play the shove in front of the jury. Boy stated Karmelo is sitting on a bleacher with his hands in his backpack. Other kids are calling his bluff. That's interesting too. Other kids were calling his bluff and saying he didn't have anything in his backpack. Interesting. When Austin moves in to shove/push Karmelo, Karmelo pulls the knife from his backpack and plunges it into Austin Metcalf's chest. It was all part of the same motion. Interesting. Very, very interesting. So let's get back over to here. We got another update, it looks like. Okay, so the court takes a brief recess. That's like we're up to date to where we are now. But let's get into this. Okay, state calls 18-year-old. Okay, they're not identifying this particular minor, even though he's 18. But okay, that's fine. The witness testified that he is a graduate of Memorial High School and that his mother is the pediatrician for the Metcalf boys. He ran the 400 meter and the 200 meter races in track, and Rob Starr was his coach. This is an 18-year-old that's saying all this. He said he knew both of the Metcalfs, but was closer to Hunter. He said on the day of the actual incident, he was under the tent, scrolling through TikTok, so his phone was out, just like every other kid, I'm sure. He said Austin was the only one standing. Austin was the only one standing, and most people were sitting down. Most other people were standing down. Anthony, Karmelo, allegedly came to the top of the tent, sat next to him on the same bleacher, half in and half out of the actual, out of the bleacher. Okay, so half in and half out of bleacher. Okay. Witness describes it as suspicious because it was the same random kid explaining that Karmelo came out of nowhere and was not really with any friends. Not really with any friends. So witness described it, sorry, I'm just going to repeat that again. Witness described it as suspicious because it was some random kid explaining that Karmelo came out of nowhere and was, quote unquote, not really with any friends. Okay. It raised heads, the witness said. The witness then said he was unaware of any exchanges between Anthony and Eddie Para, the other guy he allegedly dapped up and sat down next to. The witness said he had never seen Anthony before that day, and that Austin first asked him to leave, describing it as a calm request, and that Karmelo was serious about not moving. He described Austin's push as enough to get Anthony out of his seat, but not to harm him. He described the push as enough to get him out of his seat, but not to harm him. Okay. Karmelo's back was to witness when this actually happened, he testified. The witness said he did not know about the stabbing until he saw Austin at the bottom of the bleachers with a wound. The witness testified that Hunter never joined the conversation and that it appeared Karmelo wanted to start the fight. Did this look like self-defense to you? Prosecution asked. No, sir. Was there any threatening talk from Karmelo to Austin? The prosecution asked. The witness said, no, sir. Was there any threatening talk from Austin Metcalf to Karmelo Anthony? The prosecution asked. No, sir, the witness said. Was Karmelo Anthony the aggressor? The prosecution asked. This witness said, yes, sir. Did Karmelo provoke Austin in your opinion? This witness says, yes, sir. During cross-examination, the witness agreed that the tent was crowded and that Karmelo seemed normal and friendly when he first sat down. He said that there was talk under the tent about who is this guy, and that Austin stood up and asked Karmelo to leave 10 to 15 times. He said approximately 4 or 5 minutes passed from the time that Austin first asked Karmelo to leave to when the stabbing actually happened. He testified that everyone under the tent was a memorial student except for Karmelo Anthony. Interesting. Interesting, guys. Interesting. And the plot continues to thicken. Very interesting. Let me see if there's any more updates as of now. Hold on, guys. Just seeing if there's... Hold on. Hold on. Okay, we got a few things here. What sucks about this is this reporter is not doing like a continuous feed. if that makes any sense. That's the one thing that kind of sucks about it, because I'm just trying to find like where we just were with her reporting, and it's almost like it just stops there. Oh, that's so annoying. And it just stops there, and then she just starts a whole new feed. She might need to start doing one full feed from this point on. But let's take a look at this. All right. So shout out to Marianne Martinez. Appreciate the reporting. Real talk. So second boy, who is in the 10th day of the stabbing, is testifying now. He recounts that Austin asked Karmelo to leave. Austin was initially not upset. The back and forth between the two boys started, and then things got more serious, quote unquote. Karmelo wasn't even looking at Austin. He already knew what he was going to do, the second teen is saying. Ooh, boy. The second teen, who is black, says that Austin even called out Karmelo when Karmelo put his hands in his backpack. So in other words, they were like, we don't believe you have anything, right? Austin said something like, this is Frisco. You don't have anything in there. Wow. You don't have anything in there. This is what Austin is saying. And like other people, apparently from other eyewitnesses, they were like taunting him like, yeah, right, Karmelo. Like, all right, bro. They don't know his name. So it's like, yeah, right, bro. Like you got something in there. And apparently Austin's like, this is Frisco. You don't have anything in there. Right. And other teens were agreeing. The second teen was sitting right next to Karmelo. So this must be the Eddie guy. That must be Eddie. Okay, so Austin's shoving of Karmelo wasn't even hard enough that Karmelo touched him. Wait, hold on. Austin's shoving of Karmelo wasn't even hard enough that Karmelo touched him when it happened. Interesting. Second teen says stabbing happened so quickly that he didn't even realize it had happened, and he was sitting right next to Karmelo. He says, I just remember being in shock and not really knowing where to go. The second teen says once he realized what had happened. Prosecutor says, did it seem like Austin was trying to pick a fight? Second teen says, no, sir. Prosecutor says, did it seem like Karmelo wanted to pick a fight? Second teen says, no, sir. Or yes, sir. I'm sorry. Did it seem like Karmelo wanted to pick a fight? Teen says yes. Interesting. Under cross-examination, the second teen describes the shove Austin gave Karmelo. This is a lineman drill. When Austin grabs Karmelo, it's almost simultaneous that Karmelo goes to stand up. And then, of course, stabs. Let's see. Yeah, that was 21 minutes ago. And that is, of course, when he, like, allegedly, from reports are saying, like, eyewitnesses, that's when he, and stuck him. Right? So very, very interesting stuff so far. Very, very interesting stuff so far. Hold on. I'm trying to see if there's any random updates like coming out of the courthouse, or if Court TV is back on rapping about this at all. Nope, they don't. Nothing at all. Let's see what's going on outside. Shall we? Let's see what's going on outside this courthouse. It's still chaos. Yeah, a lot of the videos that we saw that show a lot of like protesting and all that, a lot of it's still the stuff from yesterday. So maybe they haven't shown any of that stuff yet, or maybe things are calm right now and they just haven't covered that, which I find very, very interesting. I'm looking. I'm trying to see if there's any updates from like any reports right now. They took a brief break. Maybe there's a new update here. Yeah, nothing so far. Fascinating stuff. Let's take a look at this really quick, and then I of course, unfortunately, guys, I'm gonna have to, I'm gonna have to head out here in just a little bit. But let's just hear a little bit more of this coverage here, real quick. All right.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. This hour we are following a trial involving teens, a track meet and tragedy. Texas versus Karmelo Anthony is unfolding now. No cameras allowed inside of that courtroom, but we can let you know that that lunch break that they were on is over. Testimony has resumed. The Frisco Police Department deputy who was on the stand, Jacob Shawls, he wrapped up his testimony saying he was aware of the school's no weapons policy, and also that sometimes she, as an officer, carries a similar knife as a tool. This was during the cross-examination of that officer. So we'll keep monitoring what's happening there inside of the courtroom because our Cody Thomas is there. He's taking notes. We are monitoring those notes, and we'll bring you the details as they unfold. We're also talking about this hour the actions of Karmelo Anthony that happened after the stabbing of 17-year-old Austin Metcalf. It's all going to be considered as a part of the body of evidence in this murder trial. You have the prosecution that's highlighting that Karmelo Anthony fled the scene of a stabbing while the defense suggests that he went directly to the people in charge. There was an athletic trainer, Tiffany Whitaker, who was on the stand, and she said that she instructed another coach, Vincent Hooper, not to let Karmelo leave the area. So what do these actions say about murder or self-defense? Let's bring back in our guests who've been talking with us all hour on this one. We have criminal defense attorneys Lateef Gray and Al Wunsch. Great to have you both on. Al, let me start with you. We talked about it a little bit before, but the words that he said afterward, if there was any remorse, and we'll get to some of the details of what that officer, or not the officer, but the coach rather, who actually put his arm around him and walked away with Karmelo Anthony, those words are going to be important. But just first, the actions. He walked to some point, and then you have a coach that says don't let him leave. We don't know if that means he was trying to leave or if he was waiting for those coaches. The defense is characterizing it one way versus the other. But that action itself, how important is that to the jury's determination?
Well, if it looks like he's trying to leave, I mean, obviously there is but look, there was no way he was getting away at this point anyway. They had enough people that were able to identify him, and it was obviously a confusing situation. But, you know, his actions are always going to be looked at, and going with where it happened at the moment, anything he does is going to be magnified, you know, a dozen times.
Hold on real quick. Perfect Blackness. This don't sound right. They're making it sound like this straight A student basically stabbed this kid almost without provocation. I mean, that's basically what they're trying to do. I mean, that's basically what it is it not? I mean, at the end of the day, that's the whole reason why he's in court in the first place. Is prosecution is trying to say, hey, this guy did this, in the way that they're bringing this in right now, the way that they're, you know, presenting and bringing in these witnesses right now, these witnesses are basically saying, yeah, that he started this stuff unprovoked, that Austin was just being a nice guy and just being like, hey, man, I need you to go. You're not supposed to be here. Go, you know, you're not supposed to be at our tent. Go. And then, of course, it was like, make me go kind of thing, right? So this is a very, very, I mean, obviously that's exactly what they're trying to do, guys. I mean, that's their job. That's what prosecution's trying to do, which is they're trying to paint the picture that this straight A student suddenly had some aggravation or anger towards something. I don't know. I don't know. But at the end of the day, he took this kid's life. He took this kid's life. And there's no way you around that. Now it's going to be a question of, did he do this maliciously with malicious intent, or did he do this truly out of self-defense? And right now, the way that prosecution's painting it out, they're trying to make it sound like, sounds like he like, you know, Karmelo had a little bit of an aggression issue, and he just got aggressive for no reason, right? So Perfect Blackness, thank you again for the super chat. Good thing the defense gets a turn to put up its case. To put its case up. Absolutely. I guarantee you that they'll have witnesses that contradict those witnesses. Absolutely. I mean, I would assume. You never know. We've seen trials where prosecution comes in with all kinds of evidence, and then the defense will be like, we ain't got nothing. You know what I mean? They just don't have nothing. They have a little bit of a few things, but they don't have like witnesses coming in with just nothing but just the hits, right? So we'll see. But right now, prosecution, their turn, you know, for the next couple more days, you know, when they adjourn for the day, then starting Monday, they'll be back at it all over again starting Monday, you know, and they'll have their time to present evidence and bring in witnesses. So it'll be the same thing with this soon on the other side. You would think, as long as they came in prepared, and I'm assuming that they are. I'm assuming that they came prepared. And I would assume that they are going to be bringing in people, witnesses on behalf of Karmelo, being like, yo, what I saw was something completely different. But you also got to remember, the people that we are talking about right now, they were literally, or the people that are talking right now and the witnesses that are talking in this situation right now, that are taking the stand right now, they were at ground zero. This wasn't a situation where they're going and grabbing a crock pot and walking their way back and finding out about this stabbing. No, they were literally right there with the altercation, okay, and seeing the whole thing go down. But one thing is for sure, we've been hearing two different things. Hunter was not anywhere near him, but defense is saying that Hunter was with Austin. So what is the truth? Is that true? Or is it not? Because witnesses that were at ground zero are now saying that Hunter was nowhere near Austin. He was at the other side of the tent. So I don't know what's going on. I'm quite curious about that. I'd like to get some things figured out there too, you know? Carolero, thank you so much for the love. Thank you so much for being a member for the past 38 months. I appreciate it. Pascal, sounds like teenage athletes flexing. That's basically what it sounds like. You see what I'm saying? That's what it sounds like to me. Like that it sounds like this, you know, it's like testosterone. You know, a lot of testosterone that hasn't been, you know, used yet. You know, it's just sitting there like, yo, bro, this is our tent. You need to go, bro. You know what I mean? And Carmelo's like, nah, bro. I can sit here. It's a free country. No, seriously, man. You know, you need to go. Why? I'm fine. I'm just talking to my boy right here. What's the big deal? Right? Touch me and find out type stuff. Suddenly it's like, ooh, you know, everyone's like, oh, look at him. He's got a dangerous weapon. And then, of course, you know, allegedly, Austin's like, yo, this is Frisco. You ain't got nothing in there, homie. Come on now. Just leave, man. You're under the wrong tent. So I don't know. Something wild about that. Remember, Austin was a football jock pushing on a track athlete. Well, Carolera, just so you know, Karmelo is also a football athlete as well. So he's used to being pushed. He's definitely used to being pushed. He's captain of his football team, if I'm correct. Okay? So again, interesting, right? Austin used to getting his way. I mean, yeah, maybe not. You know, maybe not. What I do know is that there are going to be more and more testimonies coming out here very, very soon. In fact, let me see if there's any any updates real quick. All right. Let us see. Okay, so they're still on their break. They are still on a break, okay? But I'm going to keep an eye on this, okay, guys? Trust and believe I'm going to keep an eye on this. And if there's, of course, I'll give you guys updates when I get a chance to get in here and give you guys updates. But for right now, unfortunately, I got to wrap up the show, okay? I got to wrap up the show. But there will be, there's a lot, okay? There's a lot to talk about, and there's a lot to cover, and it's now just getting very interesting because now they're bringing in witnesses that were actually at the place seeing everything that went down. So again, I'm going to keep an eye on this. We're going to be doing some updates and all that, so make sure you are here for it. But that is the show. I appreciate all y'all for being here. Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, guys, we will be talking about some other things here very, very soon. And we'll be back. Trust. Your boy just got things to do. All right. We busy out here. So please do me a favor before we get going. Please do me a solid. Hit that like button down below. Crush it. Do it. Do it what it do. Okay. Hit that like button down below. Crush that subscribe button. Hit that reaction button if you're watching on these other platforms. Okay. Yeah. Unfortunately, I gotta go. But, there's going to be a lot going on, guys. We're going to be covering all of this for the next week. It's going to get interesting all week. Trust and believe, okay? But please do me a favor. Again, hit that like button down below. Hit that reaction button. Hit that follow button if you're watching on these other platforms. Please do that. Go follow me on my TikTok, The New Pascal Show. Go over there. Subscribe over there. That'll be greatly appreciated. Follow over there, okay? Subscribe here on my YouTube channel right here. Go to my second channel, The Pascal Show Clips. Subscribe over there as well. We got a lot coming your way over there as well. So make sure you are subscribed and hit that notification bell on both platforms so you know whenever I go live, whenever I upload, because honestly, it is random. Hit that join button down below, become a member. Check out that Patreon, which is right there in the ticker going across the screen right now as we speak. And of course, check out PascalMerch.com. PascalMerch.com. We got some really great stuff over there. PascalMerch.com. Anyway, guys, it's time to get going. We'll be talking very soon. Trust, okay? But I gotta go. I'll talk to you guys soon. Be good to yourselves. Be good to one another. This is The Pascal Show.